At the end of the Ice Age, I accumulated tens of billions of supplies. This video is purely for entertainment and does not infringe on copyrights or laws. The rights to the novel and image belong to the original author. We do not claim ownership. Don't like waiting and want to listen to this fanfic in full now? Subscribe to our Patreon, where you'll find the best fanfics. Chapter 226 The Heaven is Dead. In the evening, Zhang Yi and others hosted a banquet to welcome Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen. They haven't eaten such good food for a long time. Even the elites of noble schools, after a few seconds of restraint at the beginning, the way they eat later becomes a little pompous. Zhang Yi silently put down the chopsticks in his hand. Just admiring the two girls eating like this made him feel very interesting. Yang Mi and Zhao Ke felt distressed when they saw it. While serving them food, they asked how they got here during their time at Cheyenne King College. With a lion's head stuffed in Lu Karen's mouth, he poured a large bowl of seaweed and egg drop soup and said vaguely, "There is no shortage of food in the school. There are only more than 300 students in our school, but there are 12 large and small canteens. There are so many ingredients in the warehouse that we can't finish them, not to mention the supermarket inside." Zhang Yi smiled faintly. He couldn't understand the so-called noble school. He could only imagine it through Lu Karen's words. Lu Karen swallowed the balls, looked at Zhang Yi gratefully, and said, "It's a good thing, brother, you saved us. Otherwise, in such cold weather, no matter how much food we have, we might not be able to last long." Zhang Yi smiled and said, "Fortunately, you are underground, and there are many people, but the temperature will not be so cold. Ice and snow are also a very good insulation material, at least wind resistance is true." After the houses in Zudong village were flooded by ice and snow, it was only by Zhu Chunlei who built them houses with ice and snow that they were able to maintain their current life. Work hard here in the future, and you won't be hungry. Lu Karen's personality fits Zhang Yi's taste very well. It's not that he has thoughts about Lu Karen, but that he likes dealing with honest people. Lu Karen nodded uncontrollably. "Thank you, brother." Zhao Ke and Yang Mi looked at Zhang Yi, and they exchanged a glance, finally letting go of a big stone in their hearts. They are very worried that Zhang Yi dislikes these two people as a burden. After all, 2 more people eat, and the consumption of supplies in the house will increase by half. But what they don't know is how many materials are stored in Zhang Yi's different space. Even if the 5 of them opened their mouths to eat and drink every day, they might not be able to use up every 200 years. Moreover, Zhang Yi can go out and look for frozen supplies without having to worry about food at all. After dinner, Yang Mi took the initiative to clean up the dishes. Recently, she has basically done all the housework. Even when Zhao Ke was around, she would take over the job. Her mentality towards Zhang Yi, from being full of guard at the beginning, to trusting later, and now she has some feelings of guilt. In this family, Zhao Ke is a doctor, Yang Xingxin is a computer genius, and Lu Karen is a mechanical genius. And what about her? What else can she do besides resting with Zhang Yi? Although Zhang Yi didn't say anything about her, Yang Mi is a very strong woman, and she doesn't like being a useless vase. At the dinner table, Zhang Yi chatted with Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen about the rules in the shelter while eating. The harmony between the few people made her feel slightly lost. She also hopes that she can be a useful person. It's best to be like Zhao Ke and the others, an irreplaceable existence. After eating, several people rested on the sofa and watched TV. By the way, Zhang Yi was leaning on the sofa. Zhao Ke and Yang Mi were sitting next to him because the 2 little sisters were there, so their posture was not too intimate. However, Yang Xingxin noticed something unusual, but she didn't speak. With her intelligence, she naturally understood that this kind of situation is very common in the last days. Only Lu Karen sat on the bed with his legs crossed and his bare feet, staring straight at the huge TV. What can be seen now, in addition to the previously stored film and television dramas, is the news content of official media from all over the world. The domestic ones are basically ignored, and there is not much valuable information. Looking at it, the atmosphere in the living room became weird. Because in today's news, they got a very important, but also very disturbing news. The snow disaster has been falling for more than a month, and has not stopped. The temperature continues to be cold and the connectivity between most regions of the world is beginning to break down. The resulting scramble for supplies has intensified, especially between countries and regions. Extremely bad weather has caused officials in many regions of the world to lose control. Most armed organizations have risen and begun to use force to control resources and surviving humans. Such news undoubtedly makes people feel very depressing, because this also means that the world has officially entered an era of disorder. Then, the armed forces will also lose their constraints. It's a bit bad now. Zhang Yi crossed his arms and murmured. Yang Mi didn't understand. Didn't chaos come a long time ago? It's just, I didn't expect it to become so terrible. She sighed softly in her heart. Originally she still wanted the world to return to its original state, and she continued to be that much anticipated star. Now she basically dare not have this idea. Different. Zhang Yi said, in the past, even if some organizations with armed forces wanted to do something, at least they would still be afraid of higher level forces. However, the extremely cold weather that has lasted for more than a month means that the ice age will not pass in a short time. In this way, the armed forces in various places don't have to worry about being liquidated. Then they have no taboos in doing things. Yang Xingxin added, it's like the rules and regulations of some units. It exists there, and maybe not everyone has to abide by it. But with it there, everyone will be somewhat afraid, and will not do too much. But now, there is no order in this world. That's not entirely true, is it? Zhang Yi glanced at Yang Xingxin. The most powerful military force still belongs to the highest level. It's just that due to the extremely cold weather, they were unable to control other areas in a timely and effective manner. This has led to the emergence of forces similar to warlords in various places. How should I put it? It's similar to the Shang and Zhao dynasties. The emperor of Zhao sits in Digi and has the strongest force. Other areas are governed by existing local armed forces. Unless the apocalypse passes, this phenomenon will continue for a long time. Yang Xingxin nodded and agreed with Zhang Yi's words. Yang Mi blinked her eyes and said with a smile, isn't this pretty good? Speaking of it, it won't be too different from before. At least they still have some fears. Zhang Yi smiled. Of course not. Why is that? Because in the past, all rights belonged to the highest level. But now the area has to be handed over to the local armed forces to manage. This also means that the era of chaotic wars between the princes may be coming. Zhang Yi took a deep breath. The era when human life is worthless will also come. The battle between ordinary people and ordinary people has limited casualties. After the aliens leave the field, the scale of death will increase rapidly. But this is nothing compared to the next battle of the armed forces. Zhang Yi once spent a month killing more than 1,000 people in the community. But after the armed forces in each region became the end, in order to compete for resources, the number of casualties was incalculable. And the safety of civilians cannot be guaranteed even more. Chapter 227 Cats. Zhang Yi will always pay attention to changes in the external situation, because it will affect whether his life is safe in the future. Perhaps all of this is just his unfounded worry, and there will be no powerful organization to attack here. But he must be prepared for all precautions. Xingxin, come and see your new equipment. Zhang Yi stood up from the sofa and wanted to take Yang Xingxin to the supercomputer. Yang Xingxin sat in the wheelchair. Zhang Yi asked the others to stay and pushed her to the control room by himself. After pushing the door and entering, Yang Xingxin looked at the console in front of him with a bright light in his eyes. The scene layout in the control room makes people feel like they are in the universe. Wang Ximing is a person who pursues luxury, so he installed old screens even on the floor of the control room. The blue light is like a river of stars in the universe, and the buttons of various colors on the huge console in front of him are neatly arranged. In the future, the network information security here will be entrusted to you. Zhang Yi patted her on the shoulder, but her gaze involuntarily fell on her legs that could not walk. A genius with an extremely developed mind who contracted polio and was paralyzed from the lower body. There is hardly a better candidate than her. Yang Xingxin nodded and rolled the wheelchair to the console. Zhang Yi used his highest authority to grant her secondary operational authority, preventing her from modifying the core content of the system, just to allow her to maintain network security. Yang Xingxin didn't say anything, walked over, put Bainen's hands on the console, and started to dance like a pianist playing the piano. Blocks of black and blue panels appeared on the big screen, and the code slid past quickly. Zhang Yi didn't understand either, but stood beside her with great interest. In less than 10 minutes, Yang Xingchen checked the network of the entire shelter. How about it? Is there a loophole in the network? Zhang Yi asked. Yang Xingchen looked at him and said, this Galaxy Light system was the top personal network system 10 years ago, and its performance is very powerful. Even now, it can crush the absolute majority of network systems in the world. Its artificial intelligence is very powerful, and theoretically there is no security loophole. Speaking of this, her tone suddenly changed. However, top hackers can create loopholes. In the past 2 weeks, the system has suffered thousands of cyber attacks. If it is not discovered in time, the entire network system will be paralyzed in a month at most. Zhang Yi stared. His guess was right. After Lu Fengda's incident, he and this shelter inevitably attracted the attention of interested people. And people who can do this kind of thing are definitely not ordinary. He asked Yang Xingchen, can you fix the vulnerability and prevent these attacks? The corner of Yang Xingchen's mouth curled up in a contemptuous arc. Brother Zhang Yi, don't forget what my major is. As the world's top hacker, she is best at network security, and she is especially good at attacking others. Although the other party also has internet masters, they are obviously far behind her. It's very easy to fix the vulnerability. And I will recreate an encrypted network for you to use. Don't use the previous router again. Otherwise, it would be pretty easy to hack through a wireless network. Zhang Yi said, you figure it out. It didn't take too long for Yang Xingchen to operate, so she raised her head with a smile and said to Zhang Yi, brother, I'm done. On her bright little face, the words quickly praise me are written. Zhang Yi smiled slightly and patted her head. Xingchen, you are awesome. Yang Xingchen's touch on Zhang Yi was very helpful. But she still said, it's just simple maintenance. It's not difficult. A sly gleam flashed in her eyes, and she seemed a little excited. Next, I'll see who wants to hack into the network here. She stuck out her pink tongue and licked her lips. It would be so interesting if I could hack into the other party's network in turn. As a top hacker, it is her instinct to constantly challenge more difficult tasks. After thinking for a moment, Zhang Yi asked, how sure are you? Or, if you fail, what are the risks? Zhang Yi was also very curious about the organization that was spying on him secretly. He has no intention of actively attacking, but it would be great if he could learn some information about the opponent. Yang Xingchen said, it's hard to say how confident it is. After all, we haven't had a formal fight yet, so we don't know the opponent's strength. From the current point of view, their cyber attack on the shelter is not strong. But brother, don't worry, even if I can't attack their network, at least I can hide my whereabouts, so I can still do it without being discovered by them. Zhang Yi nodded in satisfaction. Okay, if that's the case, go ahead and do it. Anyway, others have already done the first grade of junior high school, so he naturally wants to pay back. While the two were talking, suddenly Zhao Ke's panicked voice came from outside. Zhang Yi, it's not good. It's weird, a monster. Zhang Yi and Yang Xingchen looked at each other. That cat really likes you, and they all chased you. Zhang Yi smiled. Yang Xingchen tilted her head. Probably the only human being it trusts is me. Because I can't trust me, that's why it followed me. Zhang Yi had already discovered that the cat demon had followed him. He also has plans to subdue this cat demon and use it as a weapon in his hands. However, right now it is indeed necessary to subdue it as soon as possible. Otherwise, many people would die on the other side of the river. Let's go, let me go, and have a look. Zhang Yi pushed Yang Xingchen's wheelchair out of the control room. Zhao Ke's face turned pale, and she hurriedly hugged Zhang Yi's arm for comfort. Zhang Yi, there's a big monster outside. It's been meowing into the room outside the window. Karen said he had to call Xingchen over. It followed Xingchen. Zhang Yi said, don't be afraid, it is Xingchen's friend. Let's go and have a look. Zhang Yi pushed Yang Xingchen to the living room. Outside the window, there are two huge eyes in the night, staring into the room like red lanterns. The cat demon Huahe howled from time to time, but she didn't seem to have any malicious intentions. Instead, she seemed to be urging others to feed it. After seeing Yang Xingchen, it sat down quietly in the snow. If you ignore its hair like steel nails, this is a big cat. Yang Mi hid behind the table, staring at it with two eyes exposed. Luke Karen was a little better. After all, he knew that it was a stray cat that Yang Xingxin had fed, so he wasn't that scared. But he also kept a sufficient distance from the glass window. Chapter 228 Cultivating Feelings. Zhang Yi looked at the huge demon cat. It had been squatting in the wind and snow for a long time, and its body was covered with a layer of snow. But it didn't show any hostility, it just stared at it with piercing eyes. When blinking occasionally, it can be seen that it has a tired look. It seems that the battle with Liang Yu was also very exhausting for it. The demon cat fought with Liang Yu, who was holding a treasured sword. Liang Yu's physical strength was almost exhausted, and her condition was not optimistic. At the very least, it had many wounds left by the sword. That's why it chose to follow Zhang Yi and Yang Xingxin. After all, for it, only Yang Xingxin is a human being worthy of its trust. In this way, Zhang Yi has a chance to subdue it. Come on, let's go out and feed the cat, Zhang Yi said to Yang Xingxin. He changed into the equipment himself and also put on Yang Xingxin's thick winter clothes, then opened the door and walked out of the shelter. Meow. After seeing Zhang Yi, the demon cat yelled vigilantly, but from its demeanor, Zhang Yi could feel that its spirit was not very good. Yang Xingxin, who was sitting in a wheelchair, waved to it. Huahe, don't be afraid. Come to my sister. But the demon cat Huahe just stared at Yang Xingxin, then glanced at Zhang Yi, sobbing softly and didn't choose to approach. Zhang Yi knew that it was still wary of itself. Especially when he just went to Shine King Academy, he had some conflicts with it. Zhang Yi smiled and stretched out his hand to open the door of the different space. Whoa, cat strips, dried fish and bags of cat food fell down like hills. Hua, be good. Come and eat something. The environment outside is really terrible. As long as you are my pet in the future, you will be provided with food and shelter. Hua stared at the huge pile of food on the ground, especially when he saw the cat strips. Zhang Yi even noticed that its throat wriggled a few times. Zhang Yi was overjoyed. A cat is a cat. As long as there is food, it is easy to deal with. But the next moment, the facts were a little slapped. Although it was very jealous of the food that Zhang Yi took out, it still didn't approach, but took a few steps back, staring at Zhang Yi and the food. Woo, its voice also began to change, and its eyes seemed to be provocative. It seems to be saying to Zhang Yi, just because of this small favor, you want to subdue me. You really underestimated this cat too. Yang Xingxin in the wheelchair smiled and said to Zhang Yi, brother, Huahe is a stray cat. She is very vigilant. It took me more than a month to establish a good relationship with it. Zhang Yi rubbed his face and said with a smile, more than a month. I don't care, but I'm worried that it will attack Fatty Zhu's village. Although he didn't care about the life and death of the villagers in Zhudong village, Fatty Zhu was his favorite little brother. If Huahe got into trouble, it would be bad if the relationship between the two of them froze in the future. After all, this cat was also attracted by him. He thought for a while and said to Huahe, hey, Huahe, I know you still don't trust me, but I can provide you with food. But you have to promise me that you will not attack the villagers on the other side of the river. Can you? Zhang Yi pointed to the village in front of the guide. He has always felt that this cat demon is intelligent, which can be judged from its behavior pattern. Sure enough, Huahe turned her head and looked in the direction of Zhang Yi's finger, then looked at the pile of food in front of Zhang Yi and nodded slowly. Meow, this can be regarded as reaching an agreement. Okay, let's do it. Zhang Yi knows cats, especially stray cats, which are the most difficult to build trust in people. So take your time. Anyway, he has a lot of pet snacks in the different space, and he doesn't want to eat them, so he just feeds them. However, such a big cat has a lot of food. I have to find some other food to feed it in the future. Zhang Yi took Yang Xingxin's wheelchair and walked back to the door step by step. When they returned to the room, they suddenly heard the girls inside screaming in surprise. Zhang Yi turned his head and looked out the window, but he couldn't see the cat demon anymore. Zhang Yi, look. Zhao Ke pulled him excitedly, pointing to the big pile of cat food. Zhang Yi took a closer look and couldn't help but want to shout fuck. That giant cat demon, which was more than 10 meters long, turned into an ordinary sized raccoon cat. The women probably haven't seen cats for a long time, and they are all lying in front of the window, looking at the peach blossoms in their eyes. Can it change its size? Zhang Yi was quite pleasantly surprised. In this way, the food needed to raise it can be saved a lot. Isn't that natural? Luke Karen folded his arms and laughed. Brother, your biology seems to be very good. If it has always been this size, those guys from Azure Academy won't be able to fill its stomach at all. Yang Xingchen stared at the little raccoon cat. Her gaze became gentle. I've always had this kind of suspicion. It appears and disappears very abruptly. It stands to reason that with such a large body, even if it's just approaching, there will be huge movements. However, even teacher Liang Yu, a master of martial arts, can't find it. Analyzed by the amount of food eaten, there is a great possibility that it can change its body shape. Zhang Yi folded his arms with a relaxed smile on his face. This way the problem will be solved. How much can a raccoon cat eat? Yang Xingchen frowned suddenly and said worriedly, Huahua is bleeding. Zhang Yi looked over carefully. Sure enough, there were mottled blood stains on his body. Although it was frozen, it could be seen that it was relatively fresh. It should be the wound Liang Yu cut with looming. No wonder Huahua looked so tired. But when it eats, it doesn't seem to care. After all, for stray cats, injuries have become a common occurrence. Zhang Yi thought about it and planned to put some medicine on it tomorrow to help it recover. But it definitely can't pass now. When stray cats are eating, people who approach them will be regarded as enemies who snatch food. Originally, Zhang Yi could ask Yang Xingchen to do it for him. But then he wouldn't be able to develop a good relationship with the cat, which obviously wasn't what he wanted. That night, Yang Xingchen and Luke Karen slept in the same room. The room is very large, more than 80 square meters, and the colors inside are warm pink and yellow. The huge double bed is covered with a cloud-like soft mattress, and the quilt is a thin velvet quilt. Because the indoor temperature is relatively high, a thick quilt is completely unnecessary. The wardrobe, dressing table and desk in the room are all neat and tidy, and there are even some cute large plush toys in the corner. This is totally a favorite bedroom for little princesses. Yang Xingchen was wearing a white silk pajamas. Her long hair fell behind her back smoothly like satin. She sat on the bed with a happy smile on her face. And Luke Karen was also wearing a blue pajamas, sitting cross-legged on the bed, and had a bed talk with her. After the end of the world, they haven't had a peaceful night's sleep for too long. Luke Karen sat on the bed and said to Yang Xingchen, Xingchen, I really want you to hit me. It feels like a dream right now. We were still starving and freezing under the snow and ice in the morning. Now we live in such a comfortable room. Yang Xingchen smiled softly. Isn't this a good look? All this is thanks to brother Zhang Yi. When Zhang Yi was mentioned, she hugged a pillow to cover her smiling face. Zhang Yi's calm, rational, and powerful image has been deeply imprinted in her heart. Luke Karen couldn't help but sigh with emotion. Yes, brother Zhang Yi is amazing. He can create such a good shelter in the last days. She raised her fist and said seriously, I have decided I must work hard in the future, and I will live up to the care Zhang Yi took for me. Yang Xingchen asked curiously, what did my brother ask you to do? Luke Karen said, brother, let me familiarize myself with the equipment first. Then there are some things I need to modify myself. However, in addition to helping him repair equipment, there is a high probability that he will also build weapons. Yang Xingchen asked with a smile, weapons aren't that easy to make, are they? Luke Karen nodded. Well, if it is an ordinary firearm, it is not difficult to manufacture. However, some complicated firearms cannot be produced without professional equipment and molds. Even if it is built according to the appearance, the error of use will be relatively large. Yang Xingchen suggested with a smile, I don't think my brother should lack ordinary firearms. Compared with guns, bullets, and bombs may be more useful to him. Luke Karen suddenly realized, yup, it is too difficult to manufacture high precision firearms. But the manufacturing of bullets and explosives is much less difficult. Ordinary blasters can make unearthed explosives in proportion. For a professional like Luke Karen, it is definitely not difficult to create a more powerful and more stable bomb. I'll have a good discussion with my elder brother tomorrow. Let's see what weapons he needs. Luke Karen smiled happily. She is a person who knows how to repay Zhang Yi's kindness, and she must find a way to repay Zhang Yi's kindness so that she will feel balanced in her heart. Early the next morning, Luke Karen excitedly came to find Zhang Yi and told him his thoughts. Zhang Yi was also very moved when he heard the words. He was still thinking before that his traps were too simple to deal with more powerful enemy attacks. It would be great if there were more mines and explosives. He immediately said to Luke Karen, "Very good, you can make a large batch of these things. Be sure to pay attention to safety. Tell me what materials you need." Luke Karen patted his chest, making a bang bang sound. "Don't worry, brother, I'm a professional in this." Zhang Yi subconsciously glanced at her chest, slightly worried about her future child. "Come on, brother is optimistic about you." Zhang Yi patted her on the shoulder and encouraged her. Chapter 229. Someone comes from Zishan base. 2 flowers bloom, 1 branch each. After Zhang Yi left King Academy with Yang Xingxin and Luke Karen, Liang Yu also took the students up the snow. They didn't know that the cat demon Hua also left with Zhang Yi and Yang Xingxin. Otherwise, there is a high probability that they will stay in King Academy honestly. After all, the supplies here are still enough for them to live for a while. But the world is unpredictable, and they don't know the details. After reaching the upper layer of the snow surface, everyone was shivering from the cold wind outside, and had no choice but to go back to the snow cave below to take shelter. The squad leader, Wu Chengyu, happily took out his mobile phone and called his father, Wu Jianguo, for help. After the call was made, Wu Chengyu's father's voice really came from over there. Wu Jianguo asked about the specific situation at Qianqing College and told them to stay where they were and not to move around. He would contact them to rescue them. Everyone was excited when they heard the news. "Great, we are finally saved. No need to stay in this ghost place again. Squad leader, as expected of you. It's amazing. It's not that others haven't tried to contact their family members. They are all children of wealthy families, and none of them is not from a prominent family. But apart from Wu Chengyu, no one contacted the family members. This made them feel very bad in their hearts. Could it be their family members have already suffered? Students are afraid to think about the bad side. The pain and despair of the past few days have made them numb. If you can't get through the phone, maybe you can still retain the last shred of hope." However, the teacher Liang Yu looked at Wu Chengyu, who was aloof in the crowd, and felt a strange feeling in his heart. Is Wu Chengyu's father really capable of coming to rescue them? If so, even if Wu Chengyu had no way to contact the outside world before, as his father, he would bring someone over to investigate, instead of waiting until now. However, if Wu Jianguo was unable to rescue them, why would he agree? Liang Yu couldn't explain it clearly, but she instinctively noticed that things seemed a little subtle. Everyone waited in the snow cave for a long time. After more than 10 hours, there was a sudden noise outside. "My dad is here." Wu Chengyu excitedly crawled out of the snow cave. The other students also hurriedly followed, for fear that they would be left behind if they went late. Liang Yu's physical strength recovered a bit. She stood up, and with the support of 2 classmates, she climbed onto the snow surface. At this time on the snow, there are 4 dog sleds. The dogs are all large sled dogs like Alaska, wrapped in standard cotton clothes. Apparently these dogs are well-trained special breeds. 7 or 8 people got out of the car. They were wearing white clothes and white helmets, and even their weapons were wrapped in white cloth. At first glance, it is somewhat indistinguishable from the snow scene, but it also gives people a sense of majesty and solemnity. Liang Yu had come into contact with such people and immediately recognized them as veterans who had experienced many battles. Moreover, it is definitely an elite. After the soldiers saw Liang Yu and the group of students, they whispered a few words, then looked at them and nodded from time to time. Those eyes seemed to be looking at a group of goods, but the excited students didn't notice. Wu Chengyu stepped forward and asked, "My father is Wu Jianguo. Are you sent by him to save us?" At this moment, a person came out from behind the group of soldiers in white clothes. He lifted off the mask, revealing a haggard face, and excitedly said to Wu Chengyu, "Xiao, Xiao, I'm your father." Wu Chengyu fixed his eyes, and it took him 2 seconds to recognize that this was his own father. No wonder he didn't recognize it the first time. Because in the past, his own father, who was the head of a bureau in Qianhai City, was very rich, with a fat head and big ears, and a rich face. But after not seeing him for more than a month, his chubby face has visibly lost weight, almost out of shape. Wu Chenggai was a little puzzled, but he walked over excitedly and hugged Wu Jianguo. Dad, you're here. You don't even know how I got here during this time. Wu Jianguo patted his son on the back and said excitedly, it's good that you're fine. It's good that you're fine. Wu Chenggai was a little dissatisfied. Dad, why didn't you send someone to rescue us before? It made me suffer a lot. I almost died here. Wu Jianguo's eyes were a little embarrassed. Let's not talk about this for now. Anyway, as long as you are fine, go back with Dad. Wu Chenggai pointed to his classmates and said, there are also my teacher and classmates. At this time, those soldiers in white clothes and white armor came over. The leading captain asked, I heard that your school still has a lot of supplies in stock, right? Please show us the way. We need to bring these supplies back to the base. Liang Yu frowned, feeling something subtle. Didn't they say they were here to save people? Why have you been here for a long time and didn't mention anything about people, but first asked about supplies? Wu Chenggai said courteously, the supplies are under the snow layer. But, there is a mutated monster here. We dare not go there. After hearing this, several soldiers discussed with each other, and the captain said, it doesn't matter, any monsters appear, we will clean them up. Little brother, let you help us lead the way. Wu Chenggai's face suddenly turned pale. He didn't want to go back to that dangerous place again. The captain said, don't worry, we have experience in dealing with mutant creatures. Don't worry. Although he said so, Wu Chenggai was still very worried. He thought for a while, then suddenly gritted his teeth and pointed at Liang Yu. Actually, our teacher Liang has always been responsible for searching for supplies. She knows where there are supplies better than me. For his own safety, Wu Chenggai sold Liang Yu, who had protected them for a long time, without hesitation. Many classmates looked at him quietly with contemptuous eyes. Liang Yu's heart sank, but she just sighed and stepped forward. Let me show you the way. Several soldiers came over to confirm Liang Yu's identity and then followed her down. Other students came over and asked the soldiers how to arrange themselves. Don't worry, you will be resettled naturally later. A soldier responded coldly. These students dare not continue to ask. They felt that the atmosphere was a bit subtle and it was different from what they had imagined. After a while, two soldiers came out and said to the students, come here and help carry things. The students followed obediently. Since Oahu had already left, there was no danger down there. These soldiers commanded the students, packed all the materials they had found, and carried them to the snow surface. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 230, Entering the Base. While the students were working, there were already whispers of complaints. Didn't they come to rescue us? Why do they make us work? We have all suffered so much. We thought that the rescuers would take good care of us. I didn't expect to treat us as coolies. Someone came to Wu Chenggai's side and said in a low voice, squad leader, why is this matter different from what you said? Wu Chenggai's face was also a little embarrassed. He used to boast that his father, Wu Jianguo, was an important leader of the Zishan organization. But now it seems that the situation is not what he imagined. His father didn't seem to have a very high status in the Zishan organization. But now it is inconvenient to talk about these topics in front of other soldiers. Wu Chenggai said in a low voice, now is an extraordinary time, and people will not support idlers. Work hard. They are just short of manpower, and we can rest when we get to the base. Others have no choice but to follow suit. Soldiers outside carried the supplies onto the sleds. Unexpectedly, there are still a lot of supplies in Shine King Academy. Even the sled is full. The soldiers also nodded in satisfaction. They made a simple arrangement, and several people pulled the sled back first, and Wu Jianguo was also arranged to escort the supplies back. After all, with his appearance, he wouldn't be able to go back if he didn't follow the car. Only 2 soldiers were left to take Liang Yu and the students back to the Zishan base. "Let's go," said the soldier. Looking at the sleigh going away, the students were all stunned. "You mean, let's walk there? Where's the car? Why didn't you drive over? These students are the little emperors and little princesses at home. Where have they traveled so far?" From King College to the base of the Zishan organization, at least a dozen miles away. They have endured hunger for so long. How can they still have the energy to walk more than 10 miles in the snow? Hearing the protests of the students, the 2 soldiers looked at each other with sarcasm in their eyes. "Shut your mouth." After a soldier yelled, the majesty and aggressiveness of the soldier immediately frightened the students. "If you want to survive, follow along. If anyone is not willing, get out of here now." After the soldier finished speaking impatiently, he turned and left without looking back. Another soldier said to them coldly, "Just to remind you, no matter what your identity was in the past, now that the end of the world is coming, your identity has disappeared. If you want to survive, you have to be obedient." After speaking, he threw down a bag of energy bars and turned to leave. The students were all numb, apparently still unable to accept this fact. Liang Yu said, "Let's follow." Students are ignorant, but teachers are not. Seeing that Liang Yu said so, the students of Liushan Wazu had no choice but to choose to follow her closely. Now, Liang Yu has become the biggest dependent in their hearts. A distance of more than 10 miles seems to them to be far away in the sky. Cold and hungry, the cold wind howled on them, and many students fell down halfway. The 2 soldiers didn't pay any attention to them at all, but waited a little while they slowed down. If someone really couldn't get up, they didn't plan to help them. Liang Yu organized students to help each other. "Listen, now we have no other choice. We have to go to Zishan base to survive. Everyone must persevere. The distance is not far away." With Liang Yu as the backbone, hope gradually ignited in everyone's hearts. They walked forward step by step with such difficulty, encouraging each other. For a distance of more than 10 kilometers, they arrived after walking for a long time. If you can't hold it anymore, just eat an energy bar. These energy bars are all military supplies, and they have miraculous effects, so they didn't fall down in the snow. It has to be said that this is also a miracle of science. After a while, they finally arrived at Zishan. The base of the Zishan organization is located in the Zishan community in Xianhe City. Its entrance is at the foot of a mountain. Liang Yu and others followed the 2 soldiers to come here with difficulty. At the foot of the mountain, a huge iron gate slowly opened, revealing a bottomless staircase leading to the ground. The 2 soldiers didn't say anything, just stood guard on both sides of the door, and then winked at them. A group of people came to understand. Even though they were exhausted, they still forced themselves to go inside. In their view, this place is a safe refuge and their hope for a better life. Liang Yu and the others walked down the stairs for an unknown amount of time, before arriving at an empty room similar to an air raid shelter. There are passages in several directions around, all locked with thick green metal doors. What's next? What are we going to do? The students were expecting and fearing in their hearts, not knowing what they would face next. Don't be afraid, they took so much effort to bring us here, they shouldn't want to hurt us. Liang Yu tried her best to comfort the students. At this moment, the door to the passage on the right suddenly rumbled open. A group of people wearing white protective clothing and carrying pesticide sprayers came out. As soon as they appeared, they immediately raised the nozzles in their hands and started spraying at Liang Yu and the others. Thick disinfectant spray enveloped them. The students coughed again and again, but they understood that this was a necessary process to enter the shelter, so they could only grit their teeth and persist. After the disinfection was completed, a middle-aged girl came over and said to them, "Everyone line up into lines. Let me explain to you. In order to ensure the safety of the shelter, you must be thoroughly disinfected and tested. Please cooperate with our work." Some medical staff moved over and placed 2 tables in the room. Liang Yu and the others had no choice but to line up obediently as required. The medical staff took blood samples from them one by one, and then took them to an empty room, where they waited for the test results. Liang Yu and the others were exhausted, and they did what others told them to do, and they didn't even have the strength and courage to ask a question. A group of people are locked in a room. During the period, someone wearing protective clothing provided them with food. The food I ate was all on the plate, and it was a white viscous liquid. I don't know what it was. But everyone was really hungry, and they didn't care about so much, so they rushed up and devoured everything. I just feel that the taste of that thing seems to be pretty good. It tastes a bit like yogurt, but it is definitely not yogurt. After eating, everyone's physical strength recovered a little, and some people began to fall asleep. I don't know how long it took before a fat woman in her 50s wearing glasses appeared. Beside her, Wu Jianguo also followed. Wu Chengaiu was very excited to see his father. Dad. Wu Jianguo glared at Wu Chengaiu, motioning him not to speak. The girl with glasses glanced at Wu Chengaiu, and a smile flashed in her eyes. She asked Wu Jianguo, "Is this your son?" Wu Jianguo's figure was a bit stooped, and he said flatteringly, "Yes, Director Zhu. He is my son Wu Chengaiu." Director Zhu nodded, and didn't say much. Instead, he said to them, "After inspection, there are no infectious diseases or suspicious germs on your body. This is very good. Next, come with me to do a cleaning, and then I will send you to the 4th survival warehouse." Chapter 231 No Paradise. Next, Director Zhu arranged for someone to take Liang Yu and a group of students to do deep cleaning. Wu Chengaiu also planned to leave with everyone. Director Zhu said, "Come with me." Wu Chengaiu's eyes lit up when he heard the words, and he happily said to his classmates, "Did I say that? My father is not an ordinary person here." The students cast envious eyes on Wu Chengaiu. Wu Chengaiu happily walked up to Director Zhu and Wu Jianguo. Wu Jianguo leaned into his ear and said, "Xiao, you must obey your superiors here. Do what Director Zhu tells you to do. Do you understand?" Wu Chengaiu nodded happily. He thought he would be assigned to some good job next. Director Zhu walked over with a smile. "Xiao, come with me." Liang Yu and others took the passage on the left, while Wu Chengaiu was taken away by Director Zhu alone. Everyone's eyes were full of envy. Very nice. Wu Chengaiu walked through the shelter with Director Zhu. The underground area of Zishan shelter is very large. Although the temperature is not very high, it still looks like 6 to 7 degrees above zero. He was very curious about the sights around him along the way. And there are soldiers in white military uniforms guarding with guns everywhere. Everything looked extraordinarily strict, and there were not many pedestrians coming and going, but they walked in a hurry. Everyone was busy, and there was an orderly scene. Director Zhu took Wu Chengaiu to a separate room. She pointed to the bathroom and said, "Go and take a shower first." Wu Chengaiu felt a little weird. There are women's clothes in this room, which looks like someone's room. But at this time, Wu Chengaiu didn't think much about it. He hadn't bathed for a long time, and when he heard the news that he could take a hot bath, he couldn't wait to run in. After half an hour, he came out of the bathroom refreshed. But after opening the door and seeing the scene in front of him, Wu Chengaiu was dumbfounded on the spot. The light in the room has become an ambiguous pink, derived from the rose-shaped bedside lamp. Director Zhu was lying on the bed wearing only a pair of fat sexy underwear, propped his head on one hand, and looked at him amorously. The two elephant legs are like two lumps of fat pork piled together. "What are you waiting for? Come here." Director Zhu smiled and patted the bed. On the other side, Liang Yu and the students had finished taking a shower, and someone inside prepared new clothes for them. The clothes are all uniform, and the grey color is not beautiful at all, but it is very convenient for sports. Come with me. Next, I will take you to the place where you will live and work in the future. A woman who looked like a leader came over and said lightly. Behind her, there were two soldiers holding weapons. A gloomy feeling emerged in everyone's heart. The life in this refuge is completely different from what they imagined. The students were very disturbed. This is tens of meters deep underground. The dim lights and the soldiers with live ammunition make them feel like they are in a prison at this time. They could only cuddle tightly together and then cast their eyes on Liang Yu for help. At this moment, they could only pray to Liang Yu, the responsible teacher, to protect them. Liang Yu frowned slightly, but didn't say anything. "I haven't figured out the rules here so far, so it's not suitable to act rashly." Liang Yu quietly put her finger in front of her lips, signaling the students not to speak. Everyone nodded knowingly. Under the leadership of Liang Yu, they obediently followed the female leader and continued to move forward. The refuge is really too big, and there are passages extending in all directions below. After half a day, they didn't know where they were going, let alone where they were. The lights above the head also seemed dim, and even flickered occasionally, flickering on and off. This made the exhausted students pale one by one. Fortunately, however, this situation will soon be over. The female leader led them to a huge workshop. After the gate was opened, what appeared in front of us was an underground cave with a height of 3 meters and an area of thousands of square meters. After opening the door, there was a creaking sound. Liang Yu and her classmates were surprised to find that there are so many bicycles inside. Those bikes are fixed to the ground. There are at least 1,000 people inside, pedaling hard. The scene was so spectacular that those who didn't know it thought it was a large gymnasium. However, the expressions of those people riding bicycles did not seem to be exercising, numb, rigid, and tired, but no one dared to stop. What are these people doing? Even a rich lady was stunned. The female leader glanced at them, then looked at Liang Yu and said, "This is where you will work in the future. Your job is to generate electricity for the base. These bicycles are actually generators, connected to the base's power system. The code of conduct for the base will be distributed to each of you later." The female leader's expression was extremely calm, without any impatience, but this calmness made people feel a little scared. Because of her attitude, it seemed that she was not facing a group of survivors, but a group of tools. Finally, she emphasized another sentence. "Remember, if you want to stay in the base, you must fully obey the rules of the base. Otherwise, the consequences will be very serious." After briefly introducing the situation of the base, the female leader began to put on a straight face and asked them to go to work immediately. A girl burst into tears suddenly and pulled Liang Yu's sleeves aggrievedly. "Mr. Liang, Mr. Liang." She was crying, and she only knew to call Liang Yu for a long time, but she didn't know what she wanted to say. This feeling, other students can understand, because everyone was hit by the cruel reality. After coming to the shelter, this oppressive living environment is like a sweet shop 2 centuries ago. Although they lived in danger at Shine King Academy, at least they had freedom. Liang Yu also took care of them. The female leader was indifferent to the girls crying. "It's okay to cry, but you have to work first." Liang Yu quickly comforted the girl. "Everyone, let's go to work first." Next to the female leader were 2 soldiers with guns. Liang Yu didn't dare to take risks. Originally, she thought this was an official refuge, and she would be properly resettled after coming here. But now it seems that it is still too naive after all. A group of students were crying, but they still followed Liang Yu to ride their bicycles. In Director Zhu's room, under the red light, Director Zhu was putting clothes on his fat body. There was a satisfied expression on her face. It was obvious that the new boy who arrived just now tasted good. She got dressed, opened the door and went out. Wu Jianguo has been squatting outside, and when he saw Director Zhu, he came over to say hello with a flattering face. "Director Zhu, are you satisfied with my son's service?" Director Zhu glanced at him and said with a satisfied smile, "Not bad. As expected of Director Wu's son, he is good at bedtime. Did you get your true biography?" Wu Jianguo smiled apologetically. "Where is it?" "Don't call me that, it's all in the past." Director Zhu said lightly, "You can help me clean up the rest of the matter. In the future, I will let the logistics side take care of you too, and distribute more supplies to you." Wu Jianguo was overjoyed, nodded and bowed his waist and said, "Thank you, Director Zhu. Thank you, Director Zhu. If you need anything in the future, you can tell me whatever you want, and I will bring him here right away." Director Zhu twisted his fat buttocks and left satisfied. Wu Jianguo's eyes darkened. He reached out and opened the door. Under the red light, the room was filled with a strong smell of hormones and the smell of blood. Wu Chengaiyu sat on the bed wrapped in a sheet. His eyes had lost focus. His body was bruised and purple, and there were blood stains on the bedsheet. It was hard to imagine what he had experienced during this time. Wu Jianguo closed the door and sighed. "Son, are you alright?" As he walked over, he said, "If you want to survive here, you must learn to accept all of this. It's okay, just get used to it." Wu Chengaiyu looked up at his father with tears streaming down his eyes. "Dad, why didn't you tell me that this place used to be like this? Aren't you the director of 20th Bureau? Why is this?" He didn't understand. Shouldn't he come here and continue to be his official second generation? Sitting by the bed, Zhao Jianguo said in a low voice, "Now, this is what it looks like here. My title of bureau chief is useless." He slowly told his son what had happened here since the last days. At the very beginning, the people who came here were the people at the top of the pyramid in Xianhe City and their families. Zhao Jianguo's rank in Xianhe City does not seem to be low, but his power has not reached the top level. After all, the nature of his unit determines his status. On the night of the snow disaster, he was notified by an acquaintance just in time, and he rushed over in a hurry. In the entire Zishan base, everyone is a high-ranking official and their family members, and all of them are direct descendants of the Xianhe family. Wu Jianguo's status can only be regarded as the middle and lower level, and he has no ability to mobilize troops to rescue Wu Chengyu. In the beginning, the people here got along fairly well. According to experts, this snow disaster will last for a month or two and end. At that time, everyone can go back and continue hosting work. At that time, we still respected each other. After all, we still need to cooperate after we come out. But not long after, the wind direction changed. It was discovered that the supernova explosion had a greater impact on the blue star than expected. The world has officially entered an ice age. Maybe 3 to 5 years, maybe 3 to 50 years will not pass. Wu Jianguo's voice was painful. This also means that the identity and status we had in the past will no longer exist. And slowly, the group of people who controlled the armed forces began to become the leaders of the Zishan organization. Wu Jianguo looked at his son with a heavy tone. As long as there are human activities in society, there will be hierarchies. Even without ordinary people, there will be a separation of providers and power holders from among us. What happened today is your first lesson at the Zishan Survival Institute. People at the bottom must obey those in power unconditionally if they want to live. You should be happy. Maybe this is the way you get out of your current class. Wu Jianguo forced a smile on his face and patted his son's head. Even if you use your own body, it doesn't matter if you sell your appearance. In this circle, as long as you can succeed, there is nothing that cannot be sacrificed. Chapter 232 Organization. Dozens of teachers and students of Liang Yi got a rest after a busy day. At the end of the day, they had a general understanding of their current situation. I have to get up at 6 o'clock every day, have half an hour to wash up, and then I have to participate in group activities before eating. The job content is to pedal bicycles to generate electricity. Each bicycle has a data sheet, which can count the power generation, and if it does not meet the standard, it will be deducted from the food quota. No one is pushing you to work, but your workload will be reflected in the food portion. To reach normal standards, an adult has to pedal continuously for 8 hours. Remember, these 8 hours do not include rest and eating. Except for the rest time, basically everyone spends most of the day on the bicycle except for eating, sleeping and group activities. Food, without exception, is the kind of protein-based food. It is said that this is a high-tech meal replacement that can meet the energy required by the human body with the least amount. The rest is 6 days off and 1 day off, but the holidays have to be separated, which is equivalent to taking shifts and taking days off. Liang Yu and others came here on the first day. Those students were spoiled, and they couldn't adapt to such a high-intensity work and depressing environment. Therefore, the food they get is only half the amount of normal people at most. At night, the place to sleep is a dormitory with bunk beds for more than a dozen people. The power supply is very scarce, the lighting is rather dim, and there are no entertainment facilities such as TV sets. Even if it is to charge the mobile phone every day, it must be supplied within a limited time to prevent them from wasting. After the work day is over, everyone gathers in a dormitory. They surrounded Liang Yu, sobbing and crying bitterly. "Teacher Liang, why do we still have to work? Why is life in the shelter so hard? This is completely different from what we imagined before. I've been riding a bike for a whole day, and my butt is going to be worn out, and my thighs hurt so much. If I have to live like this every day in the future, I would rather die." In just one day, they feel like their lives are in hell. Seeing the students in extreme pain, Liang Yu couldn't bear it. But what can she do? Now is an extraordinary moment, and it is not easy to survive. Did you see those people riding bicycles around today? None of them had a lower status than you in the past. I even saw several directors of Shanghai City riding bicycles. Liang Yu took a deep breath and said with emotion, the world where everyone enjoys happiness does not exist in the first place. She hopes to wake up these students and let them understand the current situation. But think about it, at least we can live well now, don't we have to worry about survival? Liang Yu is an adult and can still accept the current living conditions. Even from the heart, she doesn't reject the current life, but feels that she has relaxed a lot. After all, she was the only one responsible for taking care of all the students in Shanking College. And always be on guard against the attack of the demon cat. Well now, after coming to the shelter, the supply of food can be obtained by self-reliance. As a martial arts expert, this level of labor is nothing to her. And most importantly, she no longer needs to worry about protecting the students. But those students don't think so. In their world, getting something for nothing is a matter of course. They are high above the ground, and they are born winners in life. Work, labor, hard work, these words have nothing to do with them in this life. A student immediately cried and shouted, but we are all elites. We will depend on us to rebuild the world in the future. We are so young, just a bunch of kids. Why should we suffer like this? Mr. Liang, can you think of a way? Liang Yu felt helpless. I'm just a teacher. Here, my status is no different. Just kidding. Even if someone is randomly picked out from the power generation workshop, it used to be her upper leader. How can she speak up? At this moment, the door of the room was suddenly pushed open. Everyone shut their mouths immediately and looked outside cautiously. Wu Chengai walked in a daze. The clothes on his body wrapped him tightly, and even his collar was turned up to cover his neck. When everyone saw Wu Chengai, their eyes lit up with hope, and they left Liang Yu to surround him. Wu Chengai, you are back. Is your dad the leader of the base now? Can you take care of us, so that everyone doesn't have to work here? Even if we let us work in the office, I can be a clerk. Wu Chengai glanced at the students and said coldly, don't dream. After coming to this place, everyone will have a division of labor. According to your class, you can only step on the generator here. Wu Chengai passed the crowd and came to Liang Yu. Teacher Liang. Liang Yu nodded. Wu Chengai, where have you been? Pain flashed in Wu Chengai's eyes. My dad and I went around the base. Now I have a general understanding of the situation at Zishan base. Someone next to him moved a chair courteously. Squad leader, sit down. Wu Chengai quickly waved his hand. No, I won't sit down. You're welcome. Everyone is counting on you now. It's really not necessary. Wu Chengai gritted his teeth and said, his buttocks tightened involuntarily. His heart was bleeding when he thought of what that old woman did to him. The students were frightened by Wu Chengai's attitude. I just want you to sit down and rest for a while. Wu Chengai came to the bed with his head down and placed half of his butt on the mattress carefully. Teacher Liang, we can only rely on you in the future. He stared at Liang Yu and said. Liang Yu thought for a while and probably understood what Wu Chengai meant. If the old status and status are all gone, then in the last days, the status is determined by force. Liang Yu herself is a martial arts expert, and she has awakened supernatural powers, so she will definitely be able to be reused in the base in the future. She asked Wu Chengai indifferently, do you know what's going on at Zishan base now? Wu Chengai nodded and told everyone the information he got from Wu Jianguo. The Zishan organization now holds the highest power, and the leader is Chen Xinian, a high-ranking official who used to control the armed forces of Shanghai City. There is no ordinary person in the Zishan organization, like Wu Chengai's father, Wu Jianguo, who is in the middle and lower reaches here when it comes to status. In addition to these high-level figures, there are also many technical talents, such as top doctors and experts in the scientific field. There is also a huge group, which is the armed forces of the Zishan organization. In order to balance the entire organization, Chen Xinian divided the base into 4 areas, also called 4 life warehouses. The first life warehouse is where the leader Chen Xinian and his family are located, enjoying the highest level of supplies. It can be said that the living conditions there are no less than when they were outside. The supplies that the other 3 layers of life warehouses can't even think about are all within easy reach for them. The second floor of the life warehouse contains Chen Xinian's immediate family members, including his cronies, as well as cutting-edge scientists, doctors and other technical talents. Although their living treatment is not as good as that of No. Life barn, they can still enjoy a comfortable living environment and taste delicious food. The third layer is the armed forces protecting the Zishan base. There are more than 1,000 soldiers in the entire Zishan base, all of whom are elite fighters. They are the best in Xianhe City, both in terms of personal combat quality and weapons and equipment. The living conditions of these soldiers are second only to the second floor. It can also be said that they have no worries about food and clothing, and they don't have to worry about daily supplies. The fourth floor of the life warehouse is where Liang Yu and the others are currently located. These people can't provide much value to the base. They can only pay physical labor, generate electricity for the base, or engage in some low-level labor. The characteristic of this level of life warehouse is that the living standard is extremely low, and it can only maintain basic survival. The supply of materials, energy, and entertainment is pitifully small, and the residents of the life warehouse on the 4th floor account for the majority of the entire Zishan organization. Wu Chengyu said. But don't think about resisting. The guards on the 3rd floor stand between us and the 1st and 2nd floors. With people like us, it is impossible to fight against those well-equipped fighters. Wu Chengyu deliberately reminded the students this way, because he himself knows that these pampered classmates will definitely not be willing to work as laborers, and will try every means to plan resistance. It's not that he didn't think about resisting when he was pressed by that fat woman, but the huge gap in strength made him have to choose to compromise. When the students learned that there were thousands of elite fighters stationed just outside the area where they lived, they were completely desperate. In that case, wouldn't we only be able to work here for the rest of our lives? I don't want it. It's better to let me die. Several girls hugged each other and cried. They don't touch the spring water with their 10 fingers on weekdays, and they don't know what labor is at all. After a busy day today, their soft buttocks on the inner thighs are worn out, and this situation will be their daily routine in the future. The others were also on the verge of weeping, with sadness and despair on their faces. Wu Chengyu closed his eyes and said in a cold voice, "Why do you think they agreed to let so many of us come to Zishan base? It is to supplement the labor force they consumed before. Many people, like you, cannot accept this reality and choose to commit suicide. They don't care about our lives. If it doesn't work, they can go out and capture other survivors to fill the labor force." Suddenly, a boy picked up Wu Chengyu violently and shouted at him with a ferocious face, "It's all your fault. It's all your fault for letting us come here. If you hadn't revealed our location, how can we have come to this ghostly place?" Wu Chengyu just looked at him coldly. "If you stay in Shine King Academy, you won't die, will you?" The boy was speechless for a moment. Liberty and life, this is a difficult choice between the two. Wu Chengyu pushed the boy away and then looked at Liang Yu, who had been silent. "Teacher Liang, if we want to change our current situation, we can only rely on you. You are an extraordinary. In this Zishan base, extraordinary people can have privileges. Teacher, please help us." Chapter 233 The Morning Meeting. Wu Chengyu's words reminded the students. They all cast their begging eyes on Liang Yu and surrounded her one by one, trying to grab the hem of her clothes and get her protection. "Teacher Liang, you have to decide for us. You are a teacher. It is your responsibility to take good care of the students. We can't do strenuous work. Can you help us talk to the base and let us do some light work?" After a day of recovery, Liang Yu's physical fitness has recovered 7 or 88. She is very powerful now. Even in the face of soldiers holding guns, they can be quickly killed in seconds. But she is a rational person and will not be impulsive because of a momentary emotion. After listening to Wu Chengyu's words, she didn't find that there was no serious problem at the Zishan base. It's nothing more than social stratification, which has been normal for as long as human beings have existed. Liang Yu also disagreed with the idea that these students did not want to work. "I will protect your safety. As for the work, I have to observe and observe. The students were obviously not satisfied with this answer. But Liang Yu was their last hope now, and they didn't dare to be honest with this physical education teacher as they did before. So they could only keep praying beside Liang Yu, listening to the wind. Liang Yu was a little annoyed and said, "It's getting late. Everyone, go back and rest separately. You have to work tomorrow, so you won't lose energy when you get there." When the students heard this, they had no choice but to leave reluctantly. Before leaving, they did not forget to ask Liang Yu to help them adjust their work. Liang Yu did have this plan and went to chat with the person in charge of the Zishan base tomorrow. After all, the current living environment made her feel extremely depressed. If she can change the living environment here, she is also willing to contribute. At 6 o'clock the next morning, the horns in the dormitory blared. Everyone was woken up. The new students went out to wash up with the previous ones. Half an hour is enough for them to wash up. Liang Yu and others followed the large army to the cafeteria. The female leader who was in charge of the power plant before came with a few soldiers. Looking at the hundreds of electric workers below, she forced a smile on her face. "Good morning, dear ones. Today is the 48th day of our survival. Let us thank the great leader, Comrade Chen Xinyan, for leading us to survive happily until now." Immediately someone below raised his hand and shouted, "Long live the great leader, Comrade Chen Xinyan." Others hurriedly raised their clenched fists and shouted loudly, "Long live the great leader, Comrade Chen Xinyan." He yelled 3 times in a row before stopping. The female leader said again, "Yesterday, our team was outside again, rescuing a group of survivors. When we come here, we will be a family from now on." She looked in the direction of Liang Yu and the others and said with a smile, "Come on, family members. Please introduce yourself to everyone." Crash. Everyone else looked at Liang Yu and the others and started applauding enthusiastically. Liang Yu felt her scalp tingling. She couldn't be more familiar with such a scene. This is brainwashing them. What's even more frightening is that Liang Yu has learned about this brainwashing method. Don't think that you are smart and you won't be assimilated if you stay vigilant. The herd effect can cause people to gradually develop a sense of identity with everyone around them and even the environment after they integrate into the group in this way. The final result is that even if you keep telling yourself that this is just hypnosis and brainwashing, your mind and body will adapt to this environment. As a result, you cannot escape from this environment. This is why there were so many college students and social figures with high IQs who fell into the trap of pyramid schemes that they looked down upon. Using this method to manage the lower level people, Liang Yu took a deep breath. Although he knew it in his heart, he was helpless. Herding itself is ubiquitous. She brought the students to the front and introduced herself one by one according to what the female leader said. "Next is our routine daily morning meeting. Who is the host today?" asked the female leader. A middle-aged woman raised her hand. "It's me today." "Okay then, let's get started." After the female leader finished speaking, she didn't leave, but walked to the first row and stood with the others. Then the middle-aged woman walked up to the stage in high spirits, with a happy smile on her face. Looking at so many people in the audience, she found the feeling of being a leader outside again. The first item in the morning meeting, praise the organization. The middle-aged woman took the lead, and everyone sang in unison. "Use the light of the rising sun to light up our dream of Zishan. Holding hands, shoulder to shoulder, we share the snow, rain, wind, and frost. Use our passionate yearning to ignite the heroic power of Zishan. You and me and you, we create new brilliance together. Realize dreams, release passion, we hug each other tightly, and bloom the next second of brilliance. Realize your dreams, let your blood fly, let's ride the wind and waves together, let's set sail together." Liang Yu and the others sang the song of the Zishan organization indistinctly. The host specifically told the newcomers that this song must be learned within 3 days, and someone will check it at that time. The next thing is not over yet, and entered the link of the mini game. I played 3 small games in total: radish squat, guess what you draw, and group exercises. After doing all this, everyone returned to their respective jobs under the command of the female leader, and began to generate electricity for the Zishan organization. Liang Yu found that after the morning meeting, the expressions of those students also underwent some subtle changes. Although he also has a look of displeasure, he seems to have begun to integrate into the group, and he can chat with the co-workers he met during the mini-game. That's fine. If you can't resist, then accept life obediently. At least you can live. Liang Yu thought so in his heart. If life can go on like this, it's better than waiting outside to die. But in life, you never know which surprise will come first. At 10 o'clock in the morning, suddenly a few well-armed soldiers came to the power plant. Their arrival immediately attracted everyone's attention. The female leader of the factory hurried over. Several soldiers stood at the door, and then a young woman in a suit and wine-red glasses walked in slowly. Secretary Jen, why did you come to this kind of place in person? If you need to tell me something, I'll help you. The female leader said to the young woman with a flattering expression. Secretary Jen's eyes did not stay on her, but said, there was a group of survivors who were just discovered yesterday. Miss Liang Yu, are you there? Chapter 234 Adopting a Cat. Hearing Liang Yu's name, the surrounding students all looked over. Wu Chenggai hastily said in a low voice, Mr. Liang, don't forget us. Liang Yu got off the bicycle and said, I'm Liang Yu. Secretary Jen's eyes met Liang Yu's in midair. She suddenly smiled and walked over. All eyes were on the two of them, wondering why this high-ranking secretary would go to a place like the Fourth Life warehouse in person. Secretary Jen came over and shook hands with Liang Yu. Hi, Ms. Liang Yu. I'm Jero, the leader's secretary. Our leader would like to see your excellency. Wow, the whole workshop became restless in an instant, and everyone was talking crazily. The leader of the Zishan organization wants to meet this newcomer? Doesn't this mean that she is about to rise to the top? The students were even more excited. Teacher Liang. Teacher Liang. Hearing these noisy voices, Secretary Jen just looked around lightly. In an instant, these people shut their mouths and did not dare to make any more noise. Secretary Jen smiled and stretched out his hand. Please come with me. Liang Yu was also very curious about what kind of character that Chen Xinian was. But it's always good to have the opportunity to get out of this sweet shop. She nodded and left with Secretary Jen. After Secretary Jen left, a soldier called out the names of two students. Luo Nanshan, Dan Fangqingming. Come here. The two students were so excited that they quickly climbed off their bicycles and ran over under the envious eyes of others. The soldiers also left the power plant with them. Liang Yu was led by Secretary Jen through the entire underground space of the Zishan base, all the way to the office of Chen Xinian, the leader of the Zishan organization. This is a middle-aged man in his 50s with meticulously combed grey hair and looks shrewd and capable. After seeing Liang Yu, he came over and shook her hand with a smile. The gentle smile on Chen Xinian's face made Liang Yu feel a warmth that he hadn't seen for a long time. She was too tired to lead the half-grown children of King Academy, and the students forgot that she also needed others to give her a spiritual haven. After some conversation, Liang Yu was deeply attracted by the vision of Zishan base described by Chen Xinian. The structure including the 4-story life warehouse has also been approved by Liang Yu. In order to preserve the seeds of Chinese civilization and make this base sustainable, I hope you can lend me your strength, Ms. Liang. Chen Xinian said to Liang Yu sincerely. Liang Yu thought for a while, then nodded in agreement. If it's useful to get me, please just ask. The smile on Chen Xinian's face became even more intense. He immediately called his secretary Zhao over to arrange a place for Liang Yu to live. Liang Yu was directly promoted from the 4th Life warehouse to the 2nd Life warehouse. There are one-room houses here, and the internal structure is like a high-end office building. The bright lights can make people forget that this is a space hundreds of meters underground. There is also delicious food to enjoy, as well as unlimited hot water. Isn't this place nice? Liang Yu's heart was filled with warmth, and she felt that she came to this place really at the right time. And those students who work in the power plant are still waiting for her to go back. On the side of young Mana, Zhang Yi's main task during this time is to feed the cat. The demon cat Uahua was the first mutant animal he saw. The powerful body shape, the sharp hair like steel needles, and the innate fighting ability of cats all attracted Zhang Yi deeply. He had already planned to get this demon cat and make it his pet. Because animals are often more reliable than people. As long as you have a good relationship with it, you will definitely be the most trustworthy fighter. Perhaps it was the last time Zhang Yi asked Fatty Zhu to stop it from fighting with Liang Yu, which made Huahua feel Zhang Yi's kindness, and its attitude towards Zhang Yi gradually became better. At noon that day, Zhang Yi squatted at the door, with a large cat tray in front of him. It was full of cat strips and high-grade cat food, and even 2 fresh fish. Not far from him, Huahua returned to her normal posture, and was eating big mouthfuls. No cat can resist the delicious cat strips, which are also known as stray cat traps. Zhang Yi smiled, and said to it, Huahua, I have been feeding you for a week. You see, you have eaten so much of me, and you will be my cat from now on. Come home with me, okay? Meow. Huahua raised her head, and glanced at Zhang Yi when she heard the words, then narrowed her eyes slightly, then buried her head and continued cooking. As long as you go back with me, you can guarantee that you can eat this kind of food every day. It's very warm in the house, and there's a fireplace for a fire. Look how hot the flames are. It's freezing outside. What are you doing here? Zhang Yi is good at seduction. After Huahua finished eating a large bowl of food, she squatted on the ground to clean her claws and hair. When it heard what Zhang Yi said, it looked through the glass at the fireplace in the room. For the first time, there was a look of hesitation in its eyes. Maybe it followed at first, just for the girl who fed it. But it, whose wisdom far exceeds that of ordinary animals, also realizes that the man's home in front of him is really comfortable. Zhang Yi has been feeding it for a long time, and also gave it medicine to treat its injuries. Anyway, there is no more suitable place to go around now, so it doesn't seem like a bad choice to just follow this man. Zhang Yi saw the longing for a warm room in its eyes. Cats are not animals that can tolerate cold. They have an innate desire for a warm environment. Perhaps it is because their ancestors lived in the desert of Egypt. Zhang Yi felt that the opportunity was almost here, so he walked slowly towards the house and opened the door. Huahua, do you want to come in and take a look around? The room is very comfortable. Zhang Yi is gentle like an old father. In the past few days, even Zhaoke and Yang Mi felt jealous after seeing it, because Zhang Yi didn't treat them as well as a cat. But for Zhang Yi, animals are indeed more trustworthy than humans, and they can be pampered without burden. Huahua tilted her head, and after licking her hair twice, she finally rolled her eyes, raised her tail, and approached cautiously. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up. There's something going on. There are other delicious things in the house. Do you want to come in often? He lured the cat into the house step by step, and Huahua really followed him into the house. Become. Zhang Yi was ecstatic in his heart, until Huahua wandered into the room. It curiously ran around in large numbers, and then jumped onto the sofa. Facing the sofa worth millions, his paws began to scratch Caracalla. It left its dirty plum blossom marks on the floor and sofa. Zhang Yi didn't show any displeasure, but encouraged him generously. It's okay, you can take a look around here. From now on, this place will be your home. Zhaoke said a little jealously. Fortunately, this cat can't turn into a woman, otherwise, I'm afraid I won't have any family status at all. Chapter 235 Network Intruder. On the first day Huahua came to the house, she started making troubles everywhere. The whole shelter is really too big. It is full of curiosity about every corner, and wants to take a look. Zhang Yi is very tolerant of it, allowing it to leave footprints everywhere, even breaking exquisite antique vases. The most important thing, to get along with cats, is to establish trust from the beginning. Once this process fails, it will be extremely difficult to make up for it in the future. After Huahua wreaked havoc in the room for a long time, she finally seemed to be tired from playing. She jumped to the fireplace and stretched out lazily on the floor. Zhang Yi heaved a long sigh of relief. He knew that Huahua was completely satisfied with this new environment only after he knew that Huahua was like this. He walked over cautiously, wanting to touch its head from behind. Meow. Huahua turned her head and stared at him. Zhang Yi's movements also stopped. One person and one cat just looked at each other like this, and after a few seconds, it put its head on the floor again. Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief and said to himself, I have never been so troublesome with women. However, he was still satisfied and put his hands on Huahua's head. Snoo snoo. Huahua let out a comfortable purr, which was her recognition of Zhang Yi, a shit shoveler. How it's done. Zhang Yi's heart was completely relieved. He had a hearty smile on his face. The joy of successfully adopting a cat is indescribable. As joining this big family brings a whole new kind of joy to the sanctuary. The girls scramble to be fed every day, and even scramble to pet the cat. But for some reason, it still likes to stay by Zhang Yi's side the most. Even at night, he often sleeps on Zhang Yi's bedside. Even Yang Xingxin, who once fed it, has a position in Huahua's heart surpassed by Zhang Yi. Probably cats always prefer to be with boys. And during this time, the two newcomers, Yang Xingxin and Lu Karen, were not idle. Yang Xingxin is responsible for the network security of the entire shelter. With her, plus the supercomputer in the shelter, no one in the whole world dare say that anyone can break through here. But as a top hacker, Yang Xingxin is obviously not only satisfied with defense. Using her powerful hacking skills, she began to carry out anti-intrusion along the intruded network information. It only took her a few minutes to determine the source of the information. Zhang Yi rushed to the console immediately after receiving the news. Xingxin, you called me over so anxiously. Did you discover something new? Zhang Yi asked. Yang Xingxin's mouth curled into a weird smile. The person who tried to hack into the shelter network has been found by me. She showed Zhang Yi the notebook on her lap. On it is a map of Xianhai City. Zhang Yi saw that one place was marked with a pentagram and the other place was marked with a flashing red dot. When Zhang Yi looked carefully, he realized that the pentagram marked the location of Young Manor, and the flashing red dot is undoubtedly the location of the intruder. This place is the junction of the southwest part of Zishan district and the northwest area of Lujiang district. It is only more than 30 kilometers away from here. Is it that close? Zhang Yi's eyes became serious. I didn't expect that there was a powerful organization hidden in such a short distance. But Yang Xingxin said flatly, the other party's technical means are extremely crude. It should be just a good job done by some low-level engineer. And the equipment is not advanced. I easily hacked in. The data in the computer has been encrypted, and it will still take a while to crack. However, according to the analysis of the information obtained so far, there is indeed such a huge organization in Zishan district. Yang Xingxin raised her head. Her light blue eyes looked at him calmly. Maybe soon, we'll run into them. Zhang Yi folded his arms and said lightly, the one who should come can't hide. I, Zhang Yi, don't cause trouble, and am not afraid of trouble. If anyone wants to destroy my peace, I will kill him. Today's Zhang Yi is not what it used to be. It has an unbreakable giant fortress and a large group of elites. There are 3 strangers alone, including him. Even if he encounters a powerful armed organization, he believes that he can handle it. Xingxin, you continue to track their signals and crack the data. I want to get more information about that organization. Zhang Yi patted Yang Xingxin on the shoulder and told her to keep busy. Then he left the console and turned to look for Lu Karen. With his help, Lu Karen's mechanical studio has been set up. As a genius who can be specially recruited by Shanking Academy, Lu Karen is very professional in the field of machinery. Although she can't handle an overly sophisticated instrument by herself. But weapons and ammunition, this thing itself is not a very technical thing. Today in 2050, industrialization has also been greatly developed. Even for some people, as long as they have a 3D printer, they can print their own firearms. The manufacture of bullets and explosives is not too difficult. Now, according to Zhang Yi's instructions, Lu Karen began to manufacture a large number of bullets for him. Mainly sniper rifles and pistol bullets. Because he currently lacks the most bullets for these 2 firearms, and they are also the ones he uses the most in actual combat. Zhang Yi came to the studio and knocked on the door. Combustible, it's me. The door of the studio was opened, and the sound of jingling came from inside immediately. When Zhang Yi walked in, he felt that the temperature in the room was terribly high. Even though he was wearing unlined clothes, he started to sweat. On the workbench, Lu Karen was wearing shorts, a green suspender shirt on his upper body, and a black leather skirt on his chest. She was drenched in sweat, her back and chest were completely soaked, and her hair was sticking together. Seeing Zhang Yi, she greeted with a bright smile. Brother, why are you here? Zhang Yi smiled and said, come here to see how your work is doing. Only Lu Karen, with his natural personality, looks like a big kid. When Zhang Yi was in front of her, he couldn't help but treat her like a little sister. Lu Karen smiled revealing 14 white teeth. Then she took something from the shelf next to her like offering a treasure. "Brother, let me show you something good." Zhang Yi took a look and found that it was a silencer for a sniper rifle. His eyes lit up. Good stuff. This is too important to him. Zhang Yi's ability to shoot accurately can double the power of the firearm. If you use a sniper rifle, you can let him kill the enemy within a range of 3,000 meters. The only problem is that the sound of guns may attract enemies. With it, this problem can be solved very well. From now on, I will leave when I have finished my yin behind my back, and I don't have to worry about exposing my position anymore. Chapter 236. Good job. Zhang Yi smiled and praised. Luke Karen put his hands behind his back, clasped his fingers, and said with a shy smile, "Try it first to see if it suits you. Although I made it according to the size of your sniper rifle, if you don't feel comfortable using it, I will give it a try." Adjustable. Zhang Yi nodded. "Well, it's really good." Being praised by Zhang Yi, Luke Karen blushed with excitement. "Brother, just tell me if you need anything in the future. I will definitely try my best to help you build it." Zhang Yi said with a smile. "I came here for this purpose." He put his arms around Luke Karen's shoulders and led her to sit on the chair next to him. Being hugged by Zhang Yi's warm big arms, Luke Karen's heart beat faster. She has always been a tomboy to the outside world, but there seems to be some kind of emotion slowly sprouting in her heart. Combustible, grenades, mines and explosives. Can you make these things? When Luke Karen heard this, he turned his head to look at Zhang Yi. His eyes widened. It was as if he had heard some incredible words. Zhang Yi blinked and asked with a smile, "Is it very difficult? How is this possible?" Luke Karen stood up all of a sudden and said in a displeased manner, "Brother, you underestimate me too. I thought it was some complicated thing. HMPH, what you said, is not as technically difficult as a new energy battery." She pouted and said with some dissatisfaction, "I feel that I was underestimated by you, and you asked me to make these things." Zhang Yi couldn't help being dumbfounded. "Hey guys, is all that stuff low tech for such a genius?" Seeing Zhang Yi's dumb look, Luke Karen knew what he was thinking. She explained, "The things you said are actually not very useful in modern warfare. Perhaps 100 years ago, these weapons and equipment suitable for individual combat were useful. If you want to talk about gunpowder, even a junior high school student can make it. Isn't it just 1 sulfur, 2 nitrates, and 3 charcoals?" But Zhang Yi said with a smile, "Today is different. After the advent of the era of extreme cold, all kinds of aircraft and aircraft carriers have almost become scrap iron. The current war is between people, and the scale is getting smaller and smaller. In this case, landmines and explosives will be effective." Zhang Yi told her what Yang Xingxin had found. "Our shelter has been targeted. It is not clear who the other party is, but it is likely to be an organization with a powerful armed force. In order to protect our safety, I must increase my defense level and strengthen the traps around here. Do you understand?" After Zhang Yi's explanation, Luke Karen's expression also became serious. "So that's the case. Sorry, brother, I didn't know these things just now." Has she ever experienced a war between people? It's normal to not understand these things. Zhang Yi smiled and said, "It's okay, just do your best. You don't need to ask about other things. I'm here. I will protect you well." Zhang Yi put his hands on Luke Karen's shoulders. His gentle eyes were full of sincere friendship. How could the inexperienced Luke Karen endure this? She was immediately moved to tears. "Brother, you are so kind to me. I don't even know how to repay you." Tears fell down patter-clatter. Zhang Yi reached out to help her wipe away the tears from the corners of her eyes and said softly, "Actually, you don't know. When I first saw you, I felt that I had a special affinity with you. You look very much like one of my younger sisters. As soon as I saw you, I couldn't help but want to protect you." Luke Karen sniffed and looked at Zhang Yi eagerly, his big innocent eyes flickering. "Really? Of course it's true. Can I still lie to you?" Zhang Yi smiled softly. Luke Karen smiled happily. In the last days, how happy it is to have such a gentleman take care of her like a younger sister. But for some reason, she felt a little dissatisfied in her heart. Younger sister? Can it only be my sister? Before she could think, Zhang Yi's right hand was already stroking her hot face. But Lu Karen's face became even hotter, and her head was even a little overheated. Listen to my brother. You don't need to worry about anything. I'm here for everything. As long as my brother is here, I won't let you suffer any harm. Lu Karen's head was completely confused, and his eyes also blurred. Growing up so big, it was the first time to be treated so intimately by a man. She lost the ability to speak, so she could only nod continuously to express her approval of Zhang Yi's words. Zhang Yi said with a smile, "Okay, keep busy. Take care of your health, but don't work too hard." After finishing speaking, Zhang Yi left the studio with her blurred eyes. After going out, Zhang Yi took a deep breath, feeling that he had once again seduced the heart of an innocent girl. But for Lu Karen, a treasured girl, he must firmly draw her by his side. She had to be determined to be one with him. When necessary, it is not impossible to sell their hue. After all, dangerous things like weapons must be in the hands of one's own people. Zhang Yi thought for a while, took out his mobile phone, and sent messages to Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu. Tell them about the existence of that unknown force and let them be more vigilant. Recently, it was discovered that there are unknown forces nearby, very close to us. Be careful, everyone. Don't trust anyone casually at this time. Due to the snowstorm, the official organization has been unable to effectively manage various places. Therefore, any person or force that appears under the official banner must be extremely vigilant. Especially remember, don't expose our abilities. This is extremely important. Remember, remember, remember. After Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu watched it, their hearts were awakened. They quickly agreed to Zhang Yi's request, expressing that they would be more vigilant. And Zhang Yi can only do this. After all, now, if he can't leave this shelter, he won't leave even a single step. With this fortress-like shelter, even if it is an enemy that is hundreds of times stronger than him, he still has enough confidence to deal with it. However, the most dangerous thing now is Fatty Zhu and the others. Zhang Yi thought of the markers he saw on the map before. Spy on their signal source. The straight path between Young Manor and Young Manor happened to pass through Zujia town. Zhang Yi frowned slightly and sent another message to Fatty Zhu. If you are in danger and you can't resist, just run to my side. An ice and snow ability user is too useful, and Zhang Yi is reluctant to let him have an accident. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 237 Scout. Seeing Zhang Yi's warning, Fatty Zhu had a happy smile on his fat face. It feels good to be cared about. But he didn't take it to heart. The mere Zujia town was just an inconspicuous village on the edge of Xianhai City in the past. Not only is the house price extremely cheap, but also the people in Zujia town don't have much status in the eyes of urban people. How could anyone miss such a place? Brother Zhang is really serious. Even if someone is thinking about something, it is thinking about the villa you live in. Fatty Zhu put his phone on the table and continued to read his erotic comics. At this time, it is 27 kilometers west of Zujia town. This used to be a newly developed urban area in Xianhai City, and buildings could be seen through the ice and snow. From the buildings in this new urban area, two people slowly walked out. It's a very strange combination. A man who is more than 2 meters tall and as strong as a giant bear, and a thinly clothed, dexterous woman. They were all dressed in white, and they couldn't be found without looking carefully in the snow. There are very few clothes on the woman. It is a kind of white leather clothes that are worn close to the body, which perfectly highlights the uneven figure. In the severe cold of more than -60 degrees, it is unimaginable that someone can wear so little. She wasn't even wearing a hat or scarf, and yet she looked composed in the face of such a cold temperature. The tall man next to her was carrying a rifle wrapped in white cloth, and every step would leave deep footprints on the ground. The man obviously hates this feeling. Every time he takes a step, it is very difficult for him. I really don't know when this snow will fall. If it falls for a few more months, the whole world might be buried. Liu Xiang raised his head and looked at the snowy sky with a gloomy look on his iron-like resolute Chinese character face. Zi Huanhun, the second lieutenant of the Zishan base who was on the side smiled slightly and said slowly, "The snow will not fall endlessly. The water molecules in the air have almost condensed. If there is no water in other areas to evaporate, how can there be snow? Ice and snow formed." She stretched out her white and tender palm to take a petal. "I heard that even the temperature at the equator is about 20 degrees below zero. So in the future there will only be cold, and snow and ice will become rarer and rarer. This is probably the Lord's last sympathy for the world." Liu Xiang scratched his head. He couldn't understand the true meaning of Zihuanhuan's polite words. Zihuanhuan ignored him and walked straight to the sled, tied to the roadside. She was sitting on the body of a big dog. Her lithe body seemed to be weightless. Then, crossing Erlang's legs, he took out a palm-sized instrument from the cotton bag at his waist. This is the device used to communicate with the Zishan base. When Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang came out, their main task was to investigate the situation around the Zishan base. The investigation of Yixin City in the east of Yuanhaixiang Road in Zishan district has been completed. On Zihuanhuan's instrument, more than a dozen locations have been marked. Liu Xiang asked, "Where are we going at the next stop?" Zihuanhuan looked at the instrument and said, "Originally, our investigation was limited to the Zishan district. But this time, according to the instructions above, there is another place that needs to be searched." Liu Xiang asked curiously, "Special search? From here we can see the status gap between the two. Zihuanhuan is above Liu Xiang, at least for the course of action. Zihuanhuan has always been in control. The special task given by the higher-ups did not mention the specific task content. But it is not particularly important to think about it. As usual, go check it out, and then you can go back and report." Zihuanhuan suddenly stood on the sled, building an awning with his hands, and looking into the distance. At the end of the line of sight, a big river reflects the light. "That place is by the river. We can find it along the river. Due to the extreme cold temperature, many base stations around the world have been damaged. Therefore, various positioning devices are also difficult to operate. Even if you can see the location on the map is before the end of the world, and it is only for reference now, and you still need to confirm the location manually. Let's go. Last stop. Call it a day." Zihuan laughed happily and got on the sled. Liu Xiang whistled at the 4 Alaskas in front, then pushed the sled behind and stood behind when the speed increased. Obviously, with his physique, not all 4 large sled dogs are difficult to pull. More than an hour later, Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang came to Zujia town. When they approached the snowfield, they both couldn't help showing a shocked expression when they saw the scene in front of them. Their destination was originally Yangmanda by the river. But when I came along the river, I saw a village made of ice and snow from a distance. Especially in the middle of the village, the huge ice and snow castle is particularly eye-catching. By coincidence, they planned to come over to see what was going on here. When the sled came outside Zudong village, it immediately aroused the vigilance of the sled dogs raised in the village. Wang Wang, a dog at the head of the village, barked, and the dogs in the whole village also barked. This kind of movement made all the old and young in the village feel like they were facing a formidable enemy. Ever since they went to attack Yangmana last time, and Zhang Yi killed 100 people by himself, they have lived in fear all day long. Although Zhang Yi reached a settlement with Fatty Zhu, he promised not to touch their people in Zudong village in the future. But these villagers were really frightened by Zhang Yi. As long as they heard a little movement, they would worry whether Zhang Yi was attacking. Ever since, the villagers all took their guys and drove over with their dogs. When Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang saw so many people, they couldn't help showing surprise in their eyes. Unexpectedly, there are so many survivors in this place. Not only did they not die from freezing and starvation, but they maintained the size of the village. It's incredible. They became more curious about the village. A group of villagers kept them out of the village vigilantly. The leader of a branch held a shotgun and asked coldly, "Who are you? What do you want to do in Zudong village?" Liu Xiang frowned. His right hand was already on the safety of the rifle. But Zihuanhuan smiled slightly, stepped forward and said, "I'm the second lieutenant of the Xianhai Navy Division. This time, I'm here on behalf of the official organization, to search and help the survivors of the snow disaster. Don't be nervous." As she spoke, she took out her ID from her pocket and showed it to the villagers. She knew very well that those who survived had great expectations of the authorities. Therefore, showing your identity can avoid a lot of trouble. Chapter 238 Visiting and Guiding. Sure enough, after Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang reported their families, the expressions of the villagers in Zudong village immediately became much gentler. Even in the last days, the reverence for the government ingrained in the bones still exists. Zudong Tang, the new village head, stepped out and carefully checked Zihuanhuan's ID. Seeing that they were dressed in standard clothes, and their demeanor was extraordinary, I also believed what they said in my heart. Zudong Tang's face changed as soon as he said it. He was still stern just now, but now he was smiling all over his face to flatter him. It turns out that the leader is here. Welcome. The villagers immediately put down their weapons. They looked at Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang curiously, with many questions in their hearts. After all, network communication is not as developed as it was before the end of the world, and they cannot obtain information from the outside world. So they don't know what the world has become. Is the government still in operation? And where is it? And how is it going to deal with the snow disaster? Everyone doesn't know. However, this did not affect Zudong Tang's curry favor with Z and Liu. Zudong Tang invited the two people to the village, and immediately arranged for someone to prepare food for them. Hurry up and prepare wine and food. Today is the superior's inspection. We must entertain. Zudong Tang ordered the villagers to let every household take out some of the stored grain. Someone questioned, Master Liu, I don't know what they are here for. Why are you so enthusiastic about them? Zudong Tang said to them meaningfully, as long as they represent the government, that's enough. Now is the year of catastrophe, and the world is in chaos. It's time for us farmers to stand up. As long as we can get in touch with the government, maybe our Zhu family will have a chance to rise to the top. Besides, isn't it just some food? We can still afford it. After Zudong Tang's teaching, the villagers suddenly realized that they went back to their houses to get the good things in the warehouse and entertain Z and Liu. It was also the first time Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang saw such a popular village. Seeing their orderly life, as if they were not greatly affected by the snowstorm, I couldn't help but secretly amazed. Accompanied by Zudong Tang and a group of elders from the Zhu family, the two wandered around the village, and at the same time, had a panoramic view of everything in the village. Zihuanhuan asked, Old man, your village doesn't seem to be affected by such a big snowstorm. How did you do it? Zudong Tang immediately puffed up his chest when he heard the words, intending to show himself in front of the leader. First of all, it must be because the people in Zudong village are self-reliant, have a tenacious fighting spirit, and have not been knocked down by the snow disaster. Secondly, my village chief also played some roles. To be honest, I have taught them on weekdays to store more food in case of emergencies. Therefore, when there is a snowstorm, our villagers do not worry about the food problem. I'm not boasting. In the entire Zudong village, no one has starved to death. Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang looked at each other with a hint of meaning in their eyes. And the elders of Zudong village, hearing Zudong Tang's words of not wanting to face, were also very speechless in their hearts. How many days have you been the village head? The past events were all directed by the third master Zudong Sheng. Besides, the entire Zujia town is mainly engaged in agriculture and fishery, and has the habit of stockpiling for many years. How did it get into your mouth? Is it all due to you alone? Zihuanhuan asked casually. Oh, so you have a lot of food in Zudong village, don't you? Speaking of this, Zudong Tang smiled smugly and said with his hands behind his back, this leader, you don't know much about the farmer's market in Xianhe City. To be honest, percent of the vegetables in Xianhe City are supplied by our Zujia town. When Zudong Tang said this, he suddenly felt that something was wrong with his words. Because he was eager to highlight the importance of Zudong village in front of the superiors, he exposed the grain storage in the village. What if the people above ask them to contribute part of the food to support other areas? Zudong Tang hurried back to seek compensation. However, the heavy snow in the past month has also damaged many food and vegetables. We are now maintaining a level of food and clothing. Zihuanhuan smiled slightly. There must be at least 1,000 households in your entire Zujia town, right? If you can maintain food and clothing, that is very powerful. Zudong hurriedly laughed and said, the entire Zujia town is actually in our Zudong village, which is currently in the best condition. Look at these igloos we built. They were all built by me, and they perfectly solved the housing problem. Other villages are not so smart. Many houses were buried by heavy snow, and many people died. Zudong pointed to the igloo and the village, proudly putting all the credit on himself. The other villagers were speechless, but it was difficult to expose his identity as the village chief. Zihuan and Liu Xiang looked at Zudong in surprise. They secretly marveled in their hearts. This little old man can't imagine being so talented. Liu Xiang looked at the ice and snow castle in the village. Are these igloos artificially built? It's unbelievable. There are really skilled craftsmen in your village. Zudong said with a red face. Our village is all farmers, so naturally we need some skills to earn extra money and support our family. Zihuan and Liu Xiang nodded without any doubts. However, Zudong's all-encompassing plan made Zhu Chunluo's existence deliberately hidden. Zihuan and Liu Xiang walked around the village, but found nothing of value. Lunch was prepared in the village, and Zudong warmly invited them to enjoy it together. Zihuan and Liu Xiang naturally had no reason to refuse. They were out on missions, and all they ate were compressed foods. They hadn't tasted anything warm for a long time. So the two were invited to his home by Zudong, accompanied by a group of Zhu family elders. The thermal performance inside the igloo is still good, and it is very wind resistant. When there are more people, it doesn't seem so cold. There is a well-built stove in the igloo. When eating, the fire is directly lit, and then hot pot is eaten. Even so, eating steaming hot food is still a luxury in this day and age. In order to entertain Zihuan and Liu Xiang, the villagers donated all the good things at home. Some bacon, and frozen fish that are often eaten in the local area are all poured into the pot, and it becomes a big dish. The two leaders must not be polite, eat more and eat more. Zudong and the elders of Zujia village enthusiastically asked Zi and Liu to move their chopsticks. Looking at the delicacies in the steaming pot, Zihuan thought to himself, what a wealthy village. Chapter 239 leaked. During the meal, Zudong and the others were also making sidelines, inquiring about some matters of the official organization. Leader, when will our officials deal with the snow disaster? Zudong took out the mayozi he had treasured for many years, and poured Liu Xiang a cup. Liu Xiang lowered his head, and drank the mayozi in the cup, and the white wine entered his throat. Suddenly, a warm current rose from between his chest and abdomen, making his face rosy. Liu Xiang didn't make a sound, but picked up his chopsticks, and continued to pick up vegetables. Zihuan next to him replied, don't worry about this matter. The authorities have formulated a plan to solve the snow disaster, and it will be implemented soon. When Zudong and the others heard the words, their faces showed anticipation. Great. This ghostly day is really hard. It's useless to count on us little people. The country needs to take action to deal with the snow disaster so that we can live a happy life again. A villager couldn't help asking, is there any expert to give you litter? When will this snow stop? Zihuan smiled and said, come on, this snow won't last long. Look, isn't it much smaller now? The snow will stop in a few months at most. Liu Xiang next to her couldn't help but glance at her, and Zihuan still had a calm face, as if what he said was the truth. Liu Xiang was dumb, so he stopped talking and ate the contents of the pot in silence. Zihuan took a sip of white wine, her complexion slightly rosy. She didn't dare to drink too much. After all, she was on a mission. But it was freezing cold. Facing such a good thing as white wine, she couldn't help but drink a little. Although in terms of her physique, she is not afraid of severe cold. But alcohol can bring people a pleasant feeling, which she cannot resist. After drinking a glass of wine, Zihuan also began to ask the villagers for news. Recently, has anyone in your village experienced any strange changes? Zudong frowned slightly when he heard the words. Not only him, but all the people in Zudong village immediately thought of Zhu Chunlui. But Zudong pretended to be puzzled. What is a weird change? The people in our village are all normal. When Zi Huanhuan and the others came out, the main task was to investigate the surrounding population concentration points and resource points, and there was also a special task, which was to find the awakened ones and bring them back to the base. However, because the number of natural aliens is too rare, so far they have not found many in their base. So Zi Huanhuan just asked casually without much hope. But as a soldier, her observation skills are still very keen. She noticed the changes in the expressions on the faces of the villagers. She immediately put down the wine glass in her hand and said calmly, "Those people whose bodies have mutated and have abilities that are different from ordinary people. I believe that you get along day and night. If anyone has mutated, everyone can see it. If you can provide useful information, the organization will reward you very generously." The villagers lowered their heads, their eyes flickered, and they were weighing the gold content of Zi Huanhuan's words in their hearts. But no one said anything. With Zhu Dongtang, the patriarch and village chief, present, it was not their turn to speak. Behind Zhu Dongtang's gold-rimmed glasses, small eyes flickered with flickering light. The person the other party mentioned was undoubtedly Zhu Chunlei. "Do you want to expose his existence?" Zhu Dongtang was not in a hurry. Instead he asked, "I dare to ask, what is the organization looking for these people for?" Zi Huanhuan was even more certain that the people in Zudong village had information about the alien. With a kind smile on her face, she said to Zhu Dongtang, "Such people are precious talents of the country. We must use their abilities to contribute to rebuilding our homeland. Village chief, if you know about this kind of person, you must report it in time. The organization will give you a great credit." Zhu Dongtang nodded. "Oh, so it is like this." He lowered his head to pour the wine, but a smile flashed in his eyes. "It sounds nice, but I haven't seen any real benefits. Zhu Chunlei, he is the most important treasure in our Zudong village. Without him, I don't know what the village will become in the future. I will not hand him over. I will pay attention to it in the future. If I really find such a person, I will report it to the leader in time." Zhu Dongtang took out his mobile phone while talking and handed it to Zi Huanhuan with a smile. "Leader, let's add a contact information." But Zi Huanhuan's face suddenly changed. She looked up at Zhu Dongtang and said with a half smile, "Village chief, are you hiding something from me? It's very bad behavior to be dishonest with an organization." The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became very dignified. Everyone was stunned and didn't know what to say. Only Liu Xiang was still eating with big mouthfuls. Zhu Dongtang's hands froze in the air. He suddenly showed a puzzled expression, frowned and said, "No. What do you mean by that, leader? I'm absolutely loyal to the organization, and it is impossible to tell even a single lie." Exit. Zi Huanhuan asked lightly, "Then there are really no strangers around you?" Answer after thinking about it. This is a matter that the organization attaches great importance to. Once you conceal information, the consequences will be very serious. Of course Zi Huanhuan cared about this kind of thing. Once she can find a natural alien, the organization will give her a lot of credit. She could see that Zhu Dongtang and others had concealed very important information. The expression management of these ordinary people is not in place, and they can't hide their lies. Zhu Dongtang's lie was exposed, and the smile on his face was a little awkward for a moment. But soon, an inspiration suddenly appeared in his mind. "Got it." Zhu Dongtang hurriedly said, "Leader, if you say that, I have some doubts. It's just that that person is not from our Zudong village, and we don't know much about it. That's why I didn't dare to say it casually." Zi Huanhuan asked, "Who is that person?" Zhu Dongtang gritted his teeth and said, "That man's name is Zhang Yi, and he lives in Yonk Manor across the river from us." When Zhang Yi was mentioned, everyone in Zudong village gritted their teeth with hatred. All of them had family members who died in the attack that night. How could they not hate Zhang Yi? And Zi Huanhuan's eyes lit up when he heard the name Zhang Yi. This is the name mentioned in the special mission she received. If nothing unexpected happened, the Zhang Yi Zhu Dongtang was talking about was the one she needed to investigate. What a coincidence, Zi Huanhuan said to himself. It happened that this opportunity could be used to obtain information about Zhang Yi from the villagers of Zudong village. Chapter 240 Target, Yonk Manor. In order to make up for the omissions in his speech, Zhu Dongtang sold Zhang Yi cleanly. After all, Zhang Yi is also a stranger, so mentioning him can completely fill in the loopholes and conceal the existence of Zhu Chunlei. That Zhang Yi is a devil-like character. He killed more than 100 people in Zudong village by himself. We dare not speak out against him. We can only smash our teeth and swallow it in our stomachs. Leader, it's great that you are here now. You must be the masters for us. As Zudong Tang took the lead, the villagers in Zudong village also came to their senses and quickly directed all their questions to Zhang Yi. No one wants Zhu Chunlei, the protector, to be exposed. Coincidentally, the purpose of Zihuan and Liu Xiang's trip was to find Zhang Yi. They got the information here by being crooked. The two are also happy in their hearts. As long as the last investigation task is completed, they can return to the base to report. Moreover, the existence of Zujia town was also a surprise to them. Zihuan quickly asked the villagers about Zhang Yi's information. Zudong Tang thought about it, but he didn't know anything about Zhang Yi's age, height, and appearance. After all, they were fighting in the dark that night, and Zhang Yi chased them down like dogs with a big sniper. We only know that there are a lot of traps near their house, and he has a gun in his hand. There is also a car that can drive on snow. Zihuan and Liu Xiang wrote down the information verbatim. Especially weapons and traps will play a very important role in their subsequent investigations. Then what is his ability? Who of you knows? Zihuan asked a most concerned question. The abilities of aliens are also divided into grades and grades. Some people's mutations are completely negative. Instead of gaining powerful abilities, they make their bodies abnormal. There are also people whose abilities do not have powerful functions. And a powerful ability user is only useful to the Zishan base. Mentioning this, Zudong Tang and the others were dumbfounded. Because when they were fighting Zhang Yi, they were embarrassed just by being hit by traps and sniper rifles. I have never seen Zhang Yi use any ability. They all heard about this matter from Zhu Chunlei. Zudong Tang smiled awkwardly. How do we understand this? We don't know much about supernatural powers or not. I just think this person is abnormal, not like an ordinary person. Leader, you have to come forward to investigate this matter. A look of disappointment flashed in Zihuan's eyes. Only by understanding the abilities of a foreigner can one know how to deal with him. This is very critical information, but it is a pity that it was not obtained. She asked again and again unwillingly, but these villagers really don't understand. Not to mention them, until now, Zhu Chunlei is not very clear about Zhang Yi's ability. He only knows that it is from the space department. Zhang Yi did a good job of keeping his abilities and weapons and ammunition secret. Even the people around him don't know how many cards he has. Not to mention this group of people. Zihuan and Liu Xiang finished their meal and decided to leave Zudong village when they saw that they could not collect more information. Zudong Tang is still a little unwilling to give up, hoping that Zihuan can help him get an official position. After all, a second lieutenant is already a huge military rank in his eyes. Zihuan smiled and nodded in agreement. From now on, you will be in charge of Zujia town. If you find any useful information, please report it to me in time. Zudong Tang was happy in his heart. Yes, I will definitely contribute all my strength to the organization. Please believe me in the organization. Before the two left, Zudong Tang stuffed them with a lot of things. Zihuan didn't like anything else, but kept a few bottles of good wine. The two left Zudong village. Zihuan took out his instrument and reported the matter of Zujia town to Zishan base. It was discovered that Zujia town, a large village, has a surviving population of about 2,000 people and stores a large amount of food. No aliens were found. After finishing the report, Zihuan put away his equipment. Liu Xiang was in charge of guarding. After Zihuan finished his work, he asked, "You were in the village just now. Why did you lie to those people?" Liu Xiang couldn't understand. Almost none of what Zihuan said to Zudong Tang was true. For example, say that the snowstorm is coming to an end. Another example is that they can help Zudong village in post-disaster reconstruction. Everyone knows that this snow disaster does not know how long it will last, and even the senior management of the Zishan base cannot determine when it will end. Zihuan glanced at the big stupid man next to him and smiled indifferently. If we tell them the truth, do you think we can still be treated like honored guests here, entertained with delicious food and drink, and honestly provide us with information? Liu Xiang scratched his head. I understand the truth, but I always feel that this appearance is not very good. After all, those villagers treated us very well. Zihuan lowered his head and smiled, and said meaningfully, so, you can only be my subordinate. Liu Xiang shook his head with a helpless smile. As an elite fighter, he is indeed far inferior to Zihuan in terms of sophistication. Zihuan said nonchalantly, the words I said are what they really want to hear. Not only will they not resent me, but they will also be grateful to me for giving them hope. Liu Xiang asked puzzledly, but they will find out that what you said is a lie one day. What will you do at that time? At that time, I will have new words. Zihuan had an expression of everything is under control. If we represent the official word to them, then whatever we say will be valid. Liu Xiang's eyes were a little dazed. But, can we represent the government? There was a turmoil at the Zishan base, and the power changed from the official leader to Chen Xinian, who now controls the army. Strictly speaking, they are all rebels. But in such a world, it's hard to tell what's right and what's wrong. Liu Xiang only knew that he was a soldier, and a soldier's bounden duty is to obey orders. He shook his head, not going to think about these complicated things anymore. Zihuan didn't care what Liu Xiang thought. She was the commander of this search mission, and Liu Xiang was just a subordinate who assisted her in her work. Let's meet Zhang Yi at the next stop. She flicked her hair with curiosity in her eyes. According to the villagers of Zudong village, this guy is very unusual, and it is very likely that he is a stranger. When Liu Xiang heard this, he smiled happily and said, if we can bring him back, it will be a great achievement for us. Zihuan had a meaningful smile on the corner of his mouth. Compared to him, there are more things that are more concerned about. No one knows whether Zhang Yi is a different person. However, in the information given to her, it clearly stated that focus on investigating its relationship with the Walmart warehouse theft. Originally, the senior management of Zishan base did not pay much attention to Zhang Yi. But after listening to the descriptions of the villagers in Zudong village, Zihuan thought that things were not that simple. Perhaps through Zhang Yi, we can find the stolen materials in the so-called largest warehouse in South China. A look of excitement flashed in Zihuan's eyes. If you can really find those things, this huge credit is enough to make me the number 2 person in the base. Even. Chapter 241 Infiltrator. Since the ground has already been covered with white snow, and the surrounding area of Yangmana is relatively open, Z and Liu think that it is easy for Zhang Yi to find out if they go there rashly. Therefore, Zihuan and Liu Xiang did not go hastily, but first explored the environment of Yangmana through binoculars. Through the words of Zudong Tang and others, Zihuan and Liu Xiang became somewhat wary of Zhang Yi, knowing that this person is not so easy to deal with, and may be a powerful alien. They waited until late at night before the two went to investigate. From Zudongkan, they have already learned that Zhang Yi lives in Villa number 101, and there are many traps around it. So when they came over at night, the two were fully prepared. Liu Xiang took out a military tactical eyepiece. Looking at the snow surface in front of him, the traps buried under the snowdrifts are all clearly displayed. Fortunately, I got the news in advance, otherwise, if I went there rashly, I might get hurt. Liu Xiang said in a deep voice. Zihuan looked up at the luxurious villa in front of him, but couldn't help but sigh with emotion. I can live in such a luxurious villa in the last days and enjoy a comfortable life. Even I can't help being jealous. Liu Xiang said, there's nothing to be envious of. It's freezing outside, and such a big house consumes a lot of energy just for heating. Where did he get so much fuel for heating? Not to mention daily food and clothing. Zihuan glanced at him without further explanation. Liu Xiang didn't know about the South China warehouse. After all, he is just a soldier. He doesn't need to know the content of the mission. He just needs to obey Zihuan's orders. Send me there. Zihuan said to Liu Xiang. Liu Xiang crouched down with his burly body, and Zihuan dexterously jumped onto his shoulders. Liu Xiang carried Zi Huanhuan on his shoulders, stepped on a section of rockery exposed on the snow, and quickly jumped on the wall on the right, jumping up to a height of more than 5 meters. He firmly grasped the eaves with his right hand, and then swung towards the corner of the shelter like a swing. When a rabbit rises and falls, the person has landed on the snow. The weight of 2 people fell into the snow, sinking half of their bodies. But Zi Huanhuan was not led by a piece of snow. They want to dismantle those simple traps in the snow very easily. It's just that the two didn't want to startle the snake, and decided to sneak in quietly. Zi Huanhuan walked down from Liu Xiang's shoulders, and observed the black villa in front of him. A heavy and solid feeling immediately permeated her heart. It is indeed the residence of the richest man in the past. Although it is fancy, it is comparable to a bunker in terms of defense. A smile appeared on the corner of Zi Huanhuan's mouth. Unfortunately, for me, there is no unbreakable fortress in this world. Liu Xiang behind said in a deep voice, do you really not consider negotiating with the other party? Your ability is not combat oriented, and sneaking in rashly may be dangerous. Zi Huanhuan frowned, and said coldly, Liu Xiang, don't forget, even if I don't have supernatural powers, I, Zi Huanhuan, am also a member of the special forces. Liu Xiang immediately didn't dare to continue arguing about this matter. Then I'll wait for you outside. If there is a situation, shoot immediately, and I will find a way to break in. Zi Huanhuan smiled disapprovingly. Don't worry, Zhang Yi can't imagine that there is such an invasion method in the world. After she finished speaking, she walked towards a corner. The thick wall made of special alloy, which can withstand direct artillery fire, suddenly became like air. Or it can be said that Zi Huanhuan himself turned into air and walked in as light as nothing. The next moment, she came to Zhang Yi's shelter. This location is the living room. Zi Huanhuan didn't know the structure inside the shelter, but it was already late at night, and she entered it after confirming that the lights in the room were turned off early. As soon as she entered the shelter, she was completely enveloped by that warm feeling. Zi Huanhuan was very surprised. This place is actually warmer than the Zishan base. The luxurious interior layout and furniture around her made her feel envious and jealous. Although these things are worthless in the last days, they are everywhere outside. But it is basically impossible to bring them back to the Zishan base. After all, the underground base only has such a large space. Even a special operator like her only has a small room of more than 10 square meters. I can already confirm that he must have a lot of supplies in his hands. Whether it's food or energy, he won't lack. Otherwise, it would be impossible to enjoy such a comfortable life. Zi Huanhuan smiled. Just as she was about to continue exploring the room, she suddenly heard a cat meow. Zi Huanhuan was suddenly taken aback. Thinking that she still didn't know the details of Zhang Yi's side, she didn't dare to continue taking risks. The importance of this shelter is much higher than what the senior management of the Zishan base thought. However, Zi Huanhuan was unwilling to leave just like that. She decided to leave something for Zhang Yi to shock his heart. Then, after that, maybe this place can be taken without bloodshed. Zi Huanhuan pulled out a saber from his lap and placed it on the table in the living room. After doing this, she turned her head into the shadow of the room and disappeared as ghostly as before. Zi Huanhuan walked out from the wall, while Liu Xiang was still waiting outside to meet her. Seeing that she came out so quickly, he hurriedly asked, "Did you find anything?" Zi Huanhuan's eyes were full of excitement. "The harvest is great. Let's go back first, and I will talk to you slowly on the way." Liu Xiang was a little surprised. Go back first. He and Zi Huanhuan work together, and they haven't encountered any problem that can't be solved for a long time. Even if they encounter some former gang forces in Xianhai City, the two can easily deal with them. But this time, Zi Huanhuan actually chose to go back. Is this planning to ask the base for assistance? Did you meet a very powerful opponent? Zi Huanhuan quickly said, although I don't know, but judging from the current situation, the man named Zhang Yi is definitely not simple. I'm not good at fighting. There's no need to stay here and take risks. Go back and report the information here to the higher-ups. It is the safest thing to send a large force. Zi Huanhuan's ability is very suitable for external search. because she can perfectly integrate into the environment. Even the severe cold of ice and snow can't hurt her, and she can break through, no matter how strong the fortress is. But her ability is not suitable for direct combat. That's why Liu Xiang needs to be by her side. Liu Xiang obeyed his orders, let Zi Huanhuan sit on his shoulder, and then quickly left young Mana. But at this time, Zhang Yi, who was sleeping, was also awakened. Chapter 242 Chase. Huahua's cry woke up Zhang Yi. Since Huahua came home, she likes to crawl into Zhang Yi's room to sleep every night, just nestling on his bedside. Zhang Yi also likes to stroke the cat to relieve stress, so he didn't drive it away. This voice almost took Zhang Yi away directly, because it was so ugly. Zhang Yi opened his eyes, and saw Huahua staring at the door cautiously, her hairs all standing on end. As a stray cat, Huahua is particularly vigilant, and she usually doesn't show this appearance. Zhang Yi suddenly realized that something happened at home. He instinctively turned over and got out of bed, and he had already taken out the gun in his right hand. Huahua, what's going on? Zhang Yi asked. Huahua's IQ is very high, not much worse than humans. It can understand everything Zhang Yi said to it. But the problem is, it can't speak. Huahua just stared outside and shouted. But after barking a few times, it suddenly stopped meowing, but its eyes showed incomprehension, looking around curiously. What's the situation? Zhang Yi felt baffled. Could it be that it had nightmares at night? I've never heard of cats having nightmares. Zhang Yi was worried and picked up his mobile phone to check the monitoring of the entire shelter. As a result, no abnormal pictures were found in the shelter. Instead, Huahua walked to the door and put her paw on the door to signal that she was going out. Wait for me. Zhang Yi put on his clothes quickly and opened the door with a gun. Huahua quickly rushed to the stairs. Zhang Yi looked around cautiously, then stepped lightly and quickly followed. Huahua came to the first floor, smelling it here, sniffing it there, making that weird cry all the time. Then, it jumped onto the table in the living room. Zhang Yi followed it and walked over step by step. Soon he found the black saber lying on the table. Zhang Yi's pupils shrank suddenly and a layer of white sweat appeared on his back. This kind of saber is definitely not his, and it is even more impossible for several other people in the shelter to have such a thing. So who the hell put it here? What's even more frightening is who was able to bypass the shelter's impenetrable defenses, sneak into the living room, and put it here. The fact that the other party was able to sneak into his house without a sound meant that one day they could also sneak in and take his life. Zhang Yi swallowed a mouthful of saliva, but soon came back to his senses. There are surveillance cameras everywhere in the house. Just check to know who has entered. He immediately came to the TV and said to the smart system at home, play back the surveillance video in the living room, adjust it to 10 minutes ago, and then fast forward to someone showing up. Soon, the monitoring from 10 minutes ago appeared on the big screen. As the video fast forwarded, Zhang Yi finally saw that weird figure. He slowed down the playback speed of the video, not daring to blink for fear of missing some details. Then he clearly saw a woman in a white tights slowly walking out from the shadows in the corner of the room. Enlarge. Zhang Yi magnified that influence, observed carefully, and only then did he see the clue. The woman did not appear out of thin air, but walked in slowly from the wall. That solid wall, like air, did not stop her at all. However, Zhang Yi understood what was going on. There is such a power. Since the emergence of mutants in this world, more and more incredible things have become less bizarre. Zhang Yi continued to check the video. After observing the room for a while, the woman was about to go to the stairs. At this time, Huahua's cry sounded, scaring away the woman in the white tights. She put a dagger down on the table, then walked out from the direction of the wall again. After watching this video, Zhang Yi felt a haze appear above his head. The existence of such a foreigner is a huge threat to him. No matter how strong the shelter is, it will not work. What's even more frightening is that before she left, she put a saber on the table. Zhang Yi is also a knife player, so he understands that this kind of knife cannot be owned by ordinary people, and it is probably a standard weapon in the army. If such a person let her go, how much threat would he pose in the future? In Zhang Yi's eyes, a strong murderous intent emerged frantically. That woman must die, and she must not be allowed to live. Huahua, Come out with me and kill the intruder, Zhang Yi said to Hua Hua, who was squatting on the table. Meow. Hua Hua opened her mouth wide and let out a cry, her eyes glowing blue like light bulbs. Zhang Yi didn't go out in a hurry, but first armed himself in the living room. The sound of the engine was not heard nearby, so it was impossible for the other party to come by car, so she can't run far. While putting on his clothes, he called up the surveillance outside the shelter to see where the other party left. Through the infrared camera, he captured 2 departing figures. 2 people. It's okay, let's kill the woman who can sneak into the shelter first. It was the opponent who ran over to declare war first, and Zhang Yi would not be lenient in the slightest. With Hua Hua added, this kind of combat power is enough to deal with any opponent. If it wasn't urgent, he would have wanted to shake Uncle Yu and Fatty Zhu over. But time waits for no one. If you catch up late, you may run away. Zhang Yi put on his equipment, carried a big sniper in his hand, and went out with Hua Hua. Hua Hua, can you smell their scent? Zhang Yi looked at Hua Hua. Meow. Hua Hua howled confidently. Isn't that natural? The next moment, its body swelled rapidly, turning into a huge monster with a length of more than 10 meters. Hua Hua crouched in front of Zhang Yi, beckoning him to sit up. In the snow, its speed is faster than that of a snowmobile. Zhang Yi looked at the hairs on its back that were sharper than steel nails, and said worriedly, I'm afraid of pricking my butt. Hua Hua reacted. The hair on her back soon became limp. Only then did Zhang Yi sit down with confidence. Don't get too excited and stab my ass all of a sudden, Zhang Yi reminded Hua Hua. Deo. Hua Hua rolled her eyes and let out a displeased meow, expressing her dissatisfaction with Zhang Yi's distrust. After he sat down firmly, Hua Hua kicked hard on the snow with her big soft feet and jumped more than 10 meters away. Zhang Yi hugged the big sniper and stared straight ahead through the tactical eyepiece. Tonight, no matter what, he couldn't let that woman leave alive. 1 person and 1 cat quickly disappeared in Yunk Manor and chased towards the northwest. At this time, Zihuan and Liu Xiang rode the sled, ready to go back full of joy. The results of this search can only be described as a bumper harvest. In addition to finding a village with a prosperous population and abundant supplies, he also discovered the secrets of Zhang Yi. As long as you go back and report to the higher-ups, it will definitely be a great achievement. Chapter 243, Close to the Truth. After leaving Yunk Manor, Zihuan and Liu Xiang wanted to rush back to the Zishan base non-stop. Zihuan had an unstoppable smile on his face. Even the cold ice and snow at midnight couldn't weaken it a bit. Liu Xiang was surprised when he saw it. Zihuan is his superior, and he will directly deal with Zihuan when he executes the tasks assigned by the senior management. So along the way, Liu Xiang didn't know the specific content of many things. But today, Zihuan's appearance was obviously a little too excited. This inevitably aroused Liu Xiang's interest. The two are also old partners and have a relatively good relationship. Liu Xiang asked, Huan, what did you see in Zhang Yi's villa that made you so happy? At this time, the two had already left Yunk Manor very far. Zihuan was in a happy mood and just waiting to go back to report the news. He could be rewarded for his merits. So she told Liu Xiang about it. Old Liu, logically speaking, you are just an ordinary soldier of our A-team. There are some things that you are not high enough to know. But my sister is in a good mood today, so it's okay to tell you about it. The matter of Zhang Yi itself is just an insignificant matter to the leaders of Zishan base, so there is no requirement that it must be kept strictly confidential. Coupled with today's special circumstances, some rules have gradually become less binding. Zihuan told him the secret. That Zhang Yi, there have been rumors before that he was related to the theft of the Walmart South China warehouse. Have you heard of that case? Liu Xiang frowned slightly. I seem to have a little impression. At that time, he was still in the army, and he was not very clear about the news from the outside world. Then you've always heard of Walmart, right? Oh, I know that. That supermarket seems to be quite large, and it's famous all over the world. Yes, not only is it famous all over the world, but it is also the largest supermarket chain in the world. They have more than 800 large chain stores in China. The South China warehouse in Xianhai City stores more than 1/3 of their supplies in China. The value of their goods is said to have reached tens of billions. Liu Xiang was also taken aback. There are tens of billions of supplies. Is it that scary? After so many years of preparations and mobilization before the snow disaster, the Zishan base could not even add up to this level of storage. You mean, Zhang Yi knows the whereabouts of those supplies? Liu Xiang reacted sharply. Zi Huanhuan smiled slightly. At the beginning, the senior leaders of the base thought so too. They just regarded Zhang Yi as an insider of the matter. Let us come and investigate. However, after going to Zujia town and personally entering their home to investigate, I found that things are definitely not that simple. Zi Huanhuan's tone became serious, with the joy of discovering a huge secret in his seriousness. Liu Xiang frowned. I don't really understand. Zi Huanhuan rolled his eyes at him. This big fool, his brain is a little slow. If Zhang Yi was just an ordinary warehouse manager, then the tens of billions of materials lost would have absolutely nothing to do with him. Even if we find him to inquire, the information obtained will most likely be useless. After all, now that we have found the mastermind behind the scenes, we may not be able to recover the supplies. However, what if he is a person who hides everything and actually possesses powerful energy? Zi Huanhuan thought of what the villagers of Zudong village had said to her and lightly exhaled a puff of white smoke. Can an ordinary person survive for so long in the apocalypse and still have powerful firepower? Can an ordinary person repel the siege of hundreds of villagers and kill more than 100 people by himself? It can be judged from this that Zhang Yi is by no means ordinary. When the two were talking, the sled dog became a little restless, but his mouth was covered by the bit and he couldn't make a sound. He could only whine, and then ran forward desperately. Neither of the two who were chatting vigorously noticed this problem. After all, the weather is too cold, and it is common for dogs to get angry. Zi Huanhuan said, I was only skeptical about this before. But after entering their house to investigate, I was even more convinced of this. Their family's living conditions are so good, even more luxurious than the life of our Zishan base leaders. Without enough supplies, who would dare to enjoy such a luxurious life at such a time? Hearing this, Liu Xiang slowly came to his senses. I see. What you mean is that Zhang Yi must have a huge amount of supplies in his hands. It is very likely that it is part of the lost materials in Walmart's South China warehouse. Zi Huanhuan blinked and said in a deep voice, maybe it's not just a part. It's also possible it's all of it. What? Liu Xiang's jaw almost dropped. Huanhuan, you are making a big joke. How can he store so many supplies? Zi Huanhuan said, the case itself was very confusing. At the beginning, no one could explain why the South China warehouse, which is known as the world's largest warehouse, was sold out in just a few hours. But now, the emergence of mutants has made many impossible things possible. Liu Xiang frowned slightly. You mean, he has some kind of ability to hide materials? Zi Huanhuan said, I'm just guessing, and I'm not sure. But even if there is such a possibility, it's worth letting us take action. Zi Huanhuan's eyes were filled with excitement. After we go back, we will immediately report the news, and then the leader will send a large force to come. As long as the entire A-team dispatches a quarter of its strength, it is enough to destroy any stubborn enemy. Even if his house is very strong, it will be vulnerable when I'm around. Although Zi Huanhuan's ability is biased towards auxiliary functions, it is extremely useful when it comes to the battle. She can't bring particularly large objects in, but it's okay to throw some bombs and poison gas inside. No matter how strong the fortress is, it is very easy to break through from the inside. Liu Xiang looked at the confident Zi Huanhuan. Envy flashed in his eyes. That's great. You are born aliens with the ability to create infinite possibilities. Zi Huanhuan saw a trace of loneliness in Liu Xiang's eyes. As an elite fighter, it is a great pity for him not to have that kind of talent like Zi Huanhuan. Zi Huanhuan suddenly patted his old partner on the shoulder hard. Old Liu, don't be too depressed. You will be rewarded greatly when you return from this mission. My sister will become a high-level executive of the base in the future, and I won't treat you badly. Ha ha ha. Looking at the energetic Zi Huanhuan, Liu Xiang couldn't help but smile. Well, I will rely on you to support me in the future. The two returned to the Zishan base talking and laughing, both feeling happy about the great harvest of the trip. At this moment, in Liu Xiang's line of sight, Zi Huanhuan's head suddenly tilted to the side. A bunch of blood spattered from her temples. Her smile remained on her face, but her eyes quickly lost their luster. Boom. Zi Huanhuan's body fell from the sled without warning. If you're listening to this novel on a channel other than Fanfic World, it means they downloaded and uploaded it without effort. We cordially invite you to visit our channel, Mundo Fanfic Novelos. There you'll find the original version of this story and you can explore many other novels of various genres. We're waiting for you to immerse yourself in a world of incredible novels. Chapter 244 Don 039 T let go of any possibility. Zi Huanhuan's body fell on the snow. It happened so abruptly. In the last second, she and Liu Xiang were still happily talking about the future promotion. But now, she has become a cold corpse. In a dangerous world, there is no absolute safety. The heads of aliens are not necessarily much harder than ordinary people. It can't even resist the shooting of a 5.8mm sniper rifle that has been blessed with supernatural powers. Liu Xiang watched his old partner die in front of his eyes. It took less than a second, but it felt like a long century to him. The next moment, he instinctively drew his gun backhand and aimed it behind him. Under the night, a huge black shadow appeared in the distance. On the demon Catuahua's back, Zhang Yi held up a large sniper and accurately sniped and killed the woman who could pass through walls from a distance of 2,000 meters. In Liu Xiang's line of sight, both Zhang Yi and Huahua were too small, and his gun did not have such a long range at all. But at the moment of his hesitation, Zhang Yi had already finished reloading, and another bullet was fired. After installing the silencer, the movement is much quieter when killing others. At such a distance, the opponent can only judge his position through the ballistic trajectory. Zhang Yi originally thought that this shot could take that burly man away, but in his line of sight, the man's figure suddenly changed ghostly, leaving after images in midair. Relying on this kind of ghostly movement, he even narrowly dodged Zhang Yi's bullet. Damn it, how many strangers are there? Zhang Yi's scalp felt a little numb. Although he had guessed that it would be such a development, he still couldn't help being secretly startled when he encountered two strange people dispatched at the same time. But now no matter who the other party is, he must let the other party die here. Absolutely, don't let the other party bring back information about him. But at this interval, Liu Xiang had already grabbed Zi Huanhuan's body with his skilled skills and hid in a snow pit. Looking at Zi Huanhuan's cold body, Liu Xiang's heart was pierced. After working together for so long, he has actually developed a hazy feeling for Zi Huanhuan. It's just that due to his identity, he has been afraid to confess. But his lover died tragically in front of him, and his heart was still distraught. Damn you, I'm going to kill you. Liu Xiang's eyes were bloodshot. But the discipline of a soldier does not make him lose his mind. The opponent was an extremely powerful sniper who could accurately hit Zi Huanhuan's head from such a long distance. Not even when he was in the army. Liu Xiang judged that this was most likely a supernatural power. In long distance combat, he has no advantage and can only become a living target. But what about close combat? How does he get close to each other across the distance of 2,000 meters? And running away is the worst option. When the opponent is a sharpshooter, as long as he shows up, he is in danger of being sniped. Wait a minute, I can't be in a hurry now. The one who is anxious should be him. If I guess correctly, he is Zhang Yi, the owner of that villa. After discovering our traces, they are eager to kill us. So, my best course of action is to stand off with him here, then call for help. It takes about 2.5 hours to get here from the Zishan base if you take a snowmobile, and about 4.5 hours if you take a sled. Liu Xiang took out the equipment from his body and sent a distress signal to Zishan base. Just as Liu Xiang thought, Zhang Yi is eager to kill him now. But once he made a mistake in sniping, Liu Xiang went into hiding, and it was impossible to give him a second chance to snipe. And judging from Liu Xiang's skill just now, this is another fighter with strong melee strength. If the two fought close to each other, Zhang Yi was not sure that they would win. If you continue to delay, maybe the other party will pass on my information, and may even call for reinforcement. What should I do? Contact Fatty Zoo? Let's forget it. He doesn't have transportation. It will be dawn when he gets here. At this time, Zhang Yi's eyes looked at Huahua under his buttocks. I have an idea in my mind. Huahua, go and force that person out, and then I will support you with a sniper. Zhang Yi jumped off Huahua and said to Huahua with his back against the snow. Huahua understood Zhang Yi's meaning and immediately meowed with a dissatisfied expression. It seems to be saying that I will be in danger in the past. Zhang Yi comforted, it's okay, you are thick-skinned, he can't hurt you. As long as you let him expose his position, I promise to kill him immediately. Be obedient, I will reward you with 100 small dried fish when I go back. Huahua licked her big paw, then nodded in agreement. Felines have a strong sense of territory, and they originally hated two strangers who invaded their territory. So it hit it off with Zhang Yi, and with the benefits Zhang Yi promised, it ran towards the direction where Liu Xiang was hiding. It was still charging in the snow at the beginning, but soon, its body rolled up in the snow, turning into a huge black thorn ball. The hard black hair all over his body was like steel needles, rumbling and crushed towards Liu Xiang's position. Liu Xiang originally planned to rely on the terrain to fight a protracted battle with Zhang Yi, and then wait for the reinforcement to come. But suddenly there was a huge roar in his ears. He carefully took out his phone and used it as a mirror to check. What he saw made his pupils constrict in fright. What is this? All he saw was a huge black ball smashing towards him, which was beyond his imagination. It was too late to say it, but Liu Xiang lowered his body and quickly moved to the side. Boom. Huahua had directly crushed a path a few meters deep from where he was just now. Liu Xiang breathed a sigh of relief just now, but suddenly found that the huge black ball stopped suddenly. Then it turned into a huge black monster not far away from him. Meow. Huahua roared angrily, her hair stood on end like steel needles, and then rushed towards Liu Xiang in an S-shaped route. Liu Xiang hastily set up his gun and started shooting. However, ordinary bullets didn't do much damage to Huahua, and when they hit the steel needle on her body, sparks flew everywhere. Although Huahua was in pain, she didn't suffer any substantial damage, and screamed even more horribly towards him. Liu Xiang once again used his ghostly figure to dodge quickly in the snow. It is really weird that a person's figure can be comparable to that of a cat. But he could avoid Huahua's attack, so he couldn't hide his figure. In the distance, Zhang Yi has been waiting for him with a sniper. As soon as he showed his head, Zhang Yi pulled the trigger. Chapter 245 Devour. After one shot, Liu Xiang did not die. He is always on guard against snipers in the dark. That ghostly figure narrowly avoided Zhang Yi's bullet. Can you improve the speed and agility abilities? Zhang Yi has a preliminary judgment on Liu Xiang's ability. However, he was not in a hurry, but changed the bullet silently. I'll see how long you can last. Liu Xiang needs to face the joint attack of Zhang Yi and Huahua at the same time, not only to avoid the bullets in the dark, but also to avoid the huge monster in front of him. Soon he began to feel overwhelmed. Zhang Yi fired another bullet, and the bullet wrapped in supernatural power was extremely lethal. Even bulletproof vests might not be able to block it. A trace of blood leaked from the corner of Liu Xiang's mouth, and he forcibly activated that ability again. The figure left an afterimage like a ghost in midair, dodging the bullet. But just when he was rejoicing, a huge black shadow pounced on him. Ow! Huahua opened her mouth wide and bit directly on half of his body. Crack. There was a cracking sound, and it was unknown whether it was the body armor or the bones on Liu Xiang's body. What? His shrill screams echoed across the field. Before he died, he raised the gun in his hand to Huahua's eyes and wanted to die together. But soon he was shot in the head by Zhang Yi. So far, the two aliens who invaded Zhang Yi's sanctuary were all killed. Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief in his heart, and he drove over in a snowmobile. When she arrived at the scene, Huahua had already returned to her normal size, squatting on the woman's body, looking at Zhang Yi eagerly. Meow. Huahua opened her mouth and let out a loud howl. After all, for it, transforming also requires a huge amount of energy. Zhang Yi smiled slightly and took out a few canned tuna from the different space and placed them next to it. Huahua skillfully cut open the can with her sharp claws and ate it by herself. And Zhang Yi went to check the bodies of those two people. A tall man, fully armed, wrapped in thick white armor. But at this time, Huahua had already bitten out a crescent-shaped hideous wound on his body. The armor was not completely broken, and the material was very unusual. It should be special equipment for special forces. It's a pity that it was broken, and Zhang Yi planned to take it back and study it slowly. At this moment, Huahua suddenly called out meow meow to Zhang Yi twice. Zhang Yi looked back, and Huahua looked at the woman very humanly. Huh? What's wrong? Zhang Yi recognized this woman. She was the one who entered his shelter through the wall. If it wasn't for her perverted ability, Zhang Yi wouldn't have such a murderous intention. After all, the shelter is currently his greatest source of security point. Absolutely no violation is allowed. At this time, her whole body was already frozen, but the material of the thin white tights was obviously unusual, and it should also have a strong defensive ability. But she was wearing so thin in this weather, it must have something to do with her ability. Zhang Yi walked over, intending to search her body. When his right hand just touched her body, suddenly his whole body felt like an electric shock, and an indescribable feeling rushed straight into his brain. It was as if some biological instinct had been awakened. Huahua squinted her eyes and meowed. Zhang Yi swallowed his saliva. He understood why Huahua asked him to come and see this woman. Because there is a voice in his mind telling him that he can rob this woman's power. Zhang Yi put his right hand on her forehead, and a powerful supernatural power quickly poured into his body along his arm. Zhang Yi was so excited that he was about to cry out with that kind of joyful feeling. This is the first time he devoured the power of another alien. After Zihuanhuan's power was seized by him, Zhang Yi obviously felt that his power was much stronger. It is like a hungry person who has had a full meal and feels full of energy. It turns out that the power of aliens can still devour each other. Zhang Yi looked at his palm and said incredulously. At this time, Zihuanhuan's body no longer had that reaction, as if it was a hollowed out skin. Huahua meowed twice. The instinct of animals is always more sensitive than that of humans. It found Zihuanhuan's body and naturally felt that the power could be devoured. But it did not do so, but chose to leave it to Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi was so moved that he couldn't help but picked up Huahua and kissed her. Huahua, thank you. You're so good. Huahua moved her head closer, rubbed against Zhang Yi, then jumped down impatiently and continued eating canned food. Zhang Yi looked at the man's body with some puzzlement. Isn't he also a stranger? Why didn't I feel this way when I contacted him? It's really strange. Whether it's the current world or the mutated creatures in this world, it's full of incomprehensible things. Zhang Yi put the bodies of the two people into the different space and cleaned up the blood on the scene again. However, on the way they came, it was impossible to clean up the footprints left behind. After all, they spread almost 5 kilometers along the way. I can't control that much anymore. They have already found out my location. If they really want to open the door, I will go ahead. I'd like to see who can break into my shelter after this woman who can pass through walls is dead. Zhang Yi emboldens himself, but he should be cautious in his heart. These two people are obviously not lone wolves, but from a powerful organization. It can be seen from their uniforms. And that organization is definitely not just these two strangers. Maybe there are more powerful fighters under him, or even reorganized troops. After going back, I have to think about how to prepare myself. Zhang Yi rubbed his temple helplessly, feeling a little depressed in his heart. Why do people always come to disturb his peaceful life? But if you want to say that you are afraid, you are not. After all, now that the city is blocked by heavy snow, even if the opponent comes to attack, they can only be strangers and infantry. Modern large weapons are impossible. As for the more exaggerated strategic weapons, it is impossible for Xianhai City, a city not stationed in a large military region, to have control. Therefore, even if there is an organized attack at that time, they can only use some portable heavy weapons at most. Those things, what to use to break into his shelter? Let's go back and talk about it first. Be careful when sailing for 10,000 years, and there is always nothing wrong with making more preparations. Regardless of whether there will be an opponent coming next time, or what the strength of the opponent is, Zhang Yi will always try his best to deal with it. After all, life is no joke. Chapter 246 Zishan Refuge. Zhang Yi and Huahua returned home, and found that the lights in the living room were on. It turned out that Zhaoke and the others were also woken up by Huahua's cry. After getting up, they found that Zhang Yi was not there, so they went to the living room to wait for him to come back. After all, Zhang Yi is the backbone of the shelter. After Zhang Yi came back, he saw that they were all there and said, "It's just that you are not asleep, and it just so happens that I have something to tell you to do." The four women asked curiously, "Is there anything you can do to help us?" Zhang Yi briefly told a few people what happened tonight. They also had worried looks on their faces when they heard that someone was able to pass through the solid shelter walls. Fortunately, Zhang Yi later told them that the person had already been dealt with by him. Holding her plump chest, Zhao Ke frowned and thought, but the appearance of two aliens at the same time shows that they must be organized. Get rid of them, and it may cause the opponent's counterattack later. Zhang Yi said, "You don't need to worry about this. This shelter is very strong, and it can withstand the salvo of artillery fire even in wartime. Not to mention now, there is snow everywhere, and large firearms cannot be used at all. I recklessly killed the female alien who could pass through the wall, just to prevent the possibility of all kinds of shelters being breached." The four women breathed a sigh of relief. The four of them do not have the ability to fight, and they all rely on Zhang Yi's protection to allow them to live a stable and happy life. No one wants such a life to be broken. So when they encountered a crisis, their dependence on Zhang Yi became more and more heavy. "Next, I'm going to assign tasks to you. We may encounter unknown powerful forces, and we don't know how powerful the other party is. So we have to do everything we can, and be prepared for everything." Zhang Yi first looked at the mechanical genius Lu Karen. "Karen, during this time you need to make a lot of detonating bombs, and arrange them around the house. Tell me the materials you need, and I will go out and look for them." As a native of Xianhe City, he knew the locations of those large chemical factories and chemical laboratories in Xianhe City. Finding materials is not a problem. Lu Karen nodded firmly. "Brother, don't worry, leave the matter of weapons to me." After Zhang Yi finished speaking, he took out the bodies of Zihuan and Liu Xiang. He took all the electronic equipment from the two of them, including mobile phones and other communication equipment, and handed them over to Yang Xingxin. "Xingxin, you are responsible for helping me look up their information. The more the better. I want to know about the other organization." Yang Xingxin's expression was flat. "Yes, I understand." Zhang Yi looked at Zhao Ke again. "Ke, take these two corpses for a biopsy. It's rare to find the corpses of two aliens. Let's see if we can find the secrets about aliens from them." Zhao Ke nodded. "Okay, brother Zhang Yi." Several people finished the division of labor. Only Yang Mi didn't receive any tasks. She couldn't help walking forward, looked at Zhang Yi eagerly and asked, "Zhang Yi, what about me? I also hope to do something for everyone. Everyone around is a genius with a certain skill. Only she is a show, and Yang Mi's pride in her heart certainly does not allow this." Zhang Yi then said, "Then you can help Kera. I also leave the housework to you." Yang Mi looked at the two cold corpses on the ground and felt a little scared at the thought of slicing them. But in order to show her role, she still bit the bullet and agreed. After arranging the tasks, Zhang Yi himself was a little tired, so he went back to his room and had a good sleep. At around 9 o'clock the next morning, he woke up from the bed and subconsciously used the smart system of his mobile phone to check for any abnormalities around the shelter. After discovering that everything was as usual, Zhang Yi felt relieved. Although he killed two strangers, Zihuan and Liu Xiang, it would surely arouse the vigilance of the other organization. But if the opponent has a strict organizational structure, it is impossible to fight unprepared and will not attack rashly. This also gave Zhang Yi time to prepare. Zhang Yi put on his clothes and went downstairs. I saw Zhao Ke and Yang Xingxin sitting in the living room waiting for him. Both girls looked a little tired, but it was hard to hide the excitement in their eyes. Seeing Zhang Yi coming, the two hurriedly reported their gains to him. "Brother, Xingxin has discovered very important information." "Zhang Yi, I have already studied the slices of the corpses of those two people, and they are indeed abnormal." Zhang Yi walked over, and Yang Xingxin was holding a computer in his hand, so he first asked Yang Xingxin what he had gained. Yang Xingxin turned the computer to him. "Through the analysis of the instruments on these two people, I found out that they are from an organization called Zishan Refuge. That place is huge, and there are thousands of people alive. The hierarchical structure of the Zishan organization is very strict, and there are hundreds of armed forces. And among these people, there is a powerful team called the Ace Special Forces Team, which seems to be full of special forces and aliens. Zhang Yi sat next to Yang Xingxin, checking the information she had uncovered, and his heart was shocked one after another. Things were not so different from what he thought. The Zishan shelter must be one of several large-scale shelters built by the government in Qianhe City. There are not only abundant supplies, but also powerful armed forces. The existence of this refuge is to protect important officials in an emergency. Today, it is not surprising that it has evolved into a huge force. But what makes Zhang Yi feel a little relieved is that according to the intelligence, there are only more than 500 armed personnel in the Zishan base. After all, there is no large military region in Qianhe City, and there is only one regiment-level unit in the standing army. Even counting the police and security personnel, there are at most several thousand people. And these people are not all concentrated in the Zishan organization. It seems that there are still powerful forces outside. But those things have nothing to do with Zhang Yi now. At least he knew how powerful the Zishan organization was, and he was not so afraid in his heart. Ordinary soldiers, even if they are well trained, can't pose too much threat to the shelter with ordinary weapons. As for the so-called Ace Special Team, as long as there is no second wall-piercing woman, it is basically difficult to cause damage to my shelter. Most mutants at this stage may not be as powerful as fully armed soldiers. Alien also has shortcomings, not invincible. Except for Zhang Yi, who has a non-consumable bug level skill like the Gate of Dimension. Every time other people use the ability, they need to consume a huge amount of energy, and it is impossible to use it infinitely. Take Fatty Zhu as an example. With his combat quality, a well-trained special soldier can cut his throat and kill him silently. In this case, someone will fight. A relieved smile finally appeared on Zhang Yi's face. He has always imagined those unknown forces to be too powerful. Intelligence is really the key. Only by knowing yourself and the enemy can you be victorious in every battle. This shows how important Yang Xingxin, a talented hacker, is in his team. Chapter 247, Studying the Alien Corpse. After getting information about the Zishan organization from Yang Xingxin, Zhang Yi felt much more at ease. What people are most afraid of facing is the existence of the unknown. If you know the strength of your opponent, you can at least have the means to deal with it. Zhang Yi touched Yang Xingxin's head, smiled and praised, "Xingxin, you are really amazing." Yang Xingxin raised her chin proudly. "This kind of thing is just a small problem for me. Brother, just wait and see. I will invade the entire network of the Zishan base." Zhang Yi smiled and nodded. "Okay, I'm looking forward to it." After chatting with Yang Xingxin, Zhang Yi looked at Zhao Ke, who was already eager to try. After Zhao Ke saw that Zhang Yi had praised Yang Xingxin, she couldn't wait to show off her research results of a sleepless night. "Ke, what do you gain here?" Zhang Yi asked with a smile. Zhao Ke stood up, took Zhang Yi's hand and said, "Come with me to the laboratory. I have made a great discovery." Yang Xingxin was not interested in the cut and broken corpses, so she didn't follow. Zhang Yi and Zhao Ke came to her laboratory. This room is specially prepared by Zhang Yi for Zhao Ke. It is said to be a laboratory, but it is actually an operating room. He put all his medical equipment in, but he kept the important medicines in his own hands. In today's laboratory, all kinds of equipment are very complete, and it is not a problem to perform a single operation. Even if there are missing utensils, Lu Karen can help build them. When Zhang Yi walked into the laboratory, he saw two corpses lying on the bed. Their bodies have been dissected, and many parts have been sliced. Zhang Yi was used to seeing corpses, so he didn't think it was scary. Zhao Ke pulled Zhang Yi and excitedly walked to the test bench. Pointing to the section under the microscope, she said to Zhang Yi, "Through the research on the corpses of these two people, I found that their cells have undergone mutations. The cell activity is dozens of times that of ordinary people, and the energy produced by the glycogen reaction is also released in unusual ways." Zhao Ke picked up 2 slices of human brain. Especially the reaction of the brain cells is the most significant. This may indicate that the main source of the power is the brain. Zhang Yi couldn't help but think that when he absorbed Zihuanhuan's supernatural power, he obtained it through her brain. It's really an interesting discovery. Zhang Yi nodded and praised with a smile. But obviously, this information is not what he cares about the most. He is not engaged in scientific research and only cares about the gains that can be obtained directly. But of course Zhao Kena could see this perfunctory consolation. She curled her mouth angrily. You don't understand how important this discovery is. Well, how important is it? Zhao Kena said very seriously. So far, human body mutations are all natural mutations caused by the influence of gamma rays. But this part of the population is limited. And the impact of the mutation may not be positive. And even if the ability is obtained, it may not be useful. However, if someone can study the mutation principle of penetrating aliens, or through cell transplantation, maybe they can artificially create aliens. Zhang Yi is much more interested in this statement. According to what you said, wouldn't the whole world be strangers from now on? Zhao Kena stuck out her tongue mischievously. There is indeed such a possibility. It's just, the probability is only about %1. She said seriously. With the current medical and biological methods, I'm afraid it can't reach the level of perfect reproduction of natural aliens. After all, human beings can't even clone humans perfectly. Zhang Yi spread his hands. That's it. Zhao Kena said. However, if some radical methods are used, it may produce, well, how should I put it? It is a very weird effect. As she spoke, she looked at Liu Xiang's body on the operating bed. For example, this person, the cell mutation in his body is very strange. Zhang Yi raised his eyebrows. What kind of strange method? Zhao Kena picked up his cell slice and said leisurely, the woman next to her, her cells mutate naturally and the whole body has changed. But for this man, his cell mutation only occurred locally and a large number of cells were malignantly mutated, leading to necrosis and even harming his body. And this kind of damage will intensify every time he uses the mutant ability. So I suspect that he is very likely to be a man-made alien. At present, it is just a defective product. Zhao Kena's words aroused Zhang Yi's interest. Artificial aliens? Is this okay? However, if you look at it this way, some problems can be explained. Zhang Yi has always had a few questions in his mind, and now he suddenly solved them. The first is the problem of his inability to absorb this male alien's ability. If it is a man-made alien, it will definitely not be as perfect as a natural alien. Secondly, the ability he displayed is really too ordinary. It's just to increase the speed and agility. But in this respect, among the strangers Zhang Yi has met, both Uncle Yu and Liang Yu have blown him away. It turned out to be a man-made object. It seems that it is stronger than ordinary people, and the upper limit has been locked. Zhang Yi breathed a sigh of relief. In this way, most of the so-called Ace Special Forces team organized by Zishan with a large number of aliens are also of this kind. Gaining strength that is far weaker than that of a natural alien at the cost of damaging the body is too low cost in any way. But the advantage is that it can be mass-produced. After all, in the last days, the lives of ordinary people are the least valuable. It's just consumables in the eyes of the senior management of Zishan base. Zhang Yi gave this kind of alien a very clear definition. At this time, he had a clearer understanding of the strength of the Zishan base, and his confidence became more and more sufficient. The opponent does not have a strong armed force. Now Zhang Yi has a solid foundation for defending against their attacks. But it's not his character to be beaten passively. So Zhang Yi went to find Lu Karen and asked her to provide a list of materials for making explosives, and was going to go out and search for it. These materials are not difficult to find. If the goal is to kill people, even the most common black powder can cause considerable damage with a large enough dose. Lu Karen made a list for Zhang Yi. Zhang Yi nodded after reading it. Leave these to me. He called Fatty Wang and asked the boy to go out with him. With the help of his ability, searching for supplies will not be too easy. Chapter 248 Remind Fatty Zhu. Zhang Yi made a phone call, and Fatty Zhu ran over in a hurry. Now he treats Zhang Yi like a big brother, and obeys Zhang Yi. Because every time Zhang Yi asked him to help, he would give him a very generous return. Either pillows, figures, or a lot of snacks. And what about him? Just follow along, and help clear the snow. The most important thing is that Zhang Yi is too cautious in everything he does. Fatty Zhu didn't need to worry about safety issues at all. Such a good boss. Where can I find him? Zhang Yi drove the car to the riverside. Fatty Zhu ran over with a grunt and got into the co-pilot. Huh, it's still warm in the car. Fatty Zhu opened the zipper and the air conditioner was blowing comfortably. Boss, where are we going this time? Zhang Yi glanced at him and said, go to the chemical factory to get something. Okay, just give orders. As soon as Fatty Zhu heard that it was a chemical plant, he lost interest. Zhang Yi started the car, and the snowmobile moved forward at a constant speed in the heavy snow. While driving the car, Zhang Yi chatted with Fatty Zhu about the discovery of members of the Zishan organization nearby. This place has already been targeted by a big organization. Your Zujia town is such an obvious target, so you have to be careful in the future. Don't be caught by others. Zhang Yi reminded him. Fatty Zhu scratched his head. Big organization? I didn't notice anything unusual around Zujia town. When Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang passed by, Fatty Zhu was sleeping with his arms around a pillow at home. And Zhu Dongtang and others deliberately hid his existence, so he really didn't know about it. No movement is best, Zhang Yi said. Fatty Zhu laughed silly. Boss, I said that you are too careful. Our Zujia town is full of farmers and fishermen. What is there to worry about? Zhang Yi looked at the big-hearted Fatty Zhu and couldn't help shaking his head. But your Zujia town has a lot of food in stock, right? Are you really stupid or fake? Don't you understand how important food is in the last days? When Fatty Zhu heard this, the smirk on his face subsided slightly. Our Zujia town does have the habit of storing food. But there are more than 1,000 people in our town, and it is not so easy for anyone to come and grab our food. Ordinary people have to scare away when they see our number. Zhang Yi explained to him methodically while driving the car. As I said, ordinary non-governmental organizations are not to be feared now. For us Yiren, ordinary people are hardly a threat. But what if it is a large organization with a strong armed force? Fatty Zhu thought for a while and replied, Hua Guo has such strict control over weapons. Now there are only a few people with weapons in their hands. As for the powerful armed force, it must be an official organization. I don't believe they will attack ordinary people like Zhu Jiazhen. Zhang Yi lowered his brows and eyes, and he didn't know how to say something when he came to his lips. He could only change another angle to help Fatty Zhu analyze it. But the problem is that today's major organizations in Hay City have been torn apart. Fatty, now the major organizations are also fighting openly and secretly for their own survival. No one can represent the official. You can even understand that they are not regular troops, but private armed forces. Understand? Since everyone wants to survive, then at a certain time, there will be no face, no courtesy, no shame at all. If one day, they don't have enough food to eat. Zujia town is a huge grain storehouse, which can be plundered by them at will. The high emotional intelligence is called expropriation. At that time, what can you do? Fatty Zhu also felt the seriousness of the problem after Zhang Yi's lecture. His hands were tangled together, and his heart was very confused. Boss, what should I do if I encounter such a situation? Fatty Zhu is very timid, and he is most afraid of encountering trouble. Zhang Yi glanced at him. Fatty Zhu's ability is to manipulate ice and snow. Although the attack ability of a single target is not very powerful, the group battle effect is very powerful, and it can be attacked and defended. If something happened to Zujia town, he still hoped that Fatty Zhu would survive. If you're really scared, you can move to Young Manor. The house next door to mine is empty, so it's not a problem to find a house for you. As for the food and eating issues, I can also help you solve them. I won't let you have any worries. Fatty Zhu is a useful talent, so naturally Zhang Yi will not treat him badly. But Fatty Zhu hesitated and didn't say yes. If I leave, what will the people in the village do? After all, that place was the village where he grew up, and the villagers in a village were related to him, and they were all relatives. Rather than saying that he was reluctant to leave them behind, it would be better to say that Fatty Zhu didn't have the courage to escape from the group. Because in crowded places, cowardly people can have a great sense of security. Zhang Yi smiled faintly. It's up to you. You decide this matter yourself. I'm just stating a possibility, and things may not develop to the worst. Zhang Yi will not force others to make things difficult. Having Fatty Zhu is a help for him, but without Fatty Zhu, he is also capable of dealing with incoming enemies. Not long after, the car arrived at the largest chemical plant in Qianhe City. Zhang Yi and Fatty Zhu teamed up. One was responsible for clearing the snow, and the other was responsible for collecting chemical materials. The cooperation between the two went very smoothly, and the entire chemical plant was looted not long after. Based on the principle of not taking anything for nothing, Zhang Yi stuffed everything into the different space, as long as he could take it away, including small and medium-sized mechanical equipment that can be taken away, as well as various experimental equipment in the laboratory. After collecting the supplies, Zhang Yi sent Fatty Zhu back. Before leaving, it was natural to give Fatty Zhu some food, as well as his favorite precious handicrafts. In the next period of time, I may not contact you again. Call me if you have any questions, and you should be more careful yourself. Before parting, Zhang Yi meaningfully reminded Fatty Zhu a few words, because he knew that once the Zishan organization launched a counterattack against him, Zujia town, which was close at hand, would probably be implicated as well. He gave Fatty Zhu a chance, but Fatty Zhu didn't grasp it. After that, he could only rely on himself. Fatty Zhu was holding a lot of things, and his fat face was full of smiles. Yeah, good boss. Just when he was about to leave, Zhang Yi said, Fatty, if there is such a day, the Zishan organization or other organizations will attack me. You and the villagers of Zujia town can choose to remain neutral. But if I find out you choose to help them deal with me, then guess what I will do? Zhang Yi had a smile on his face, but Fatty Zhu shuddered. Boss, no, I will never betray you. Zhang Yi smiled and patted him on the shoulder. It's just a joke, don't take it too seriously. I know you won't betray me. After speaking, he got into the car and walked away. Chapter 249 Stupid. On the way back, Fatty Zhu thought carefully about what Zhang Yi said to him, and his heart became heavy. If there is such a day, what should he do? Zhang Yi is his only confidant now. No one is willing to listen to his nagging except Zhang Yi. He didn't know that Zhang Yi spent most of his time chatting with him using artificial intelligence. Zhang Yi treats him very well, and he doesn't want to do anything to hurt Zhang Yi. However, the villagers of Zudong village hated Zhang Yi deeply. If there are people from other organizations, I think the people in the village wish they could kill Zhang Yi. Fatty Zhu scratched his hair in confusion. Trouble, it's so troublesome. Even he, the chosen one, didn't know how to solve this problem. After returning to the village, Fatty Zhu found a brother Zuping who had a decent relationship with him. Zuping, have any outsiders visited our village recently? When Zuping heard this, he immediately laughed. I said Chunlei, come out for a walk when you have time. You don't know such a big thing. Fatty Zhu was startled. What's the big deal? Zuping said, yesterday, two higher level leaders came to our village. It is said that they are both high-ranking officials who came out of the army. We don't know their origins, but Grandpa Six has always treated them well. Let every family bring out good things to entertain them. Hey, you haven't seen the way Grandpa Six treats them so courteously. Fatty Zhu's eyes widened, and his back felt cold. These two people must be the people from the hostile organization Zhang Yi mentioned, who came to inquire about information. What did Grandpa Six tell them? Fatty Zhu asked nervously. Zuping curled his lips. What you said, I'm not qualified to ask them when they are chatting. But I think Grandpa Six is in a good mood these 2 days, and he said that he is now the mayor of the town. Fatty Zhu was very flustered. Zhang Yi's words kept echoing in his ears. If one day they don't have enough food to eat, Zujia town is a huge grain storehouse, which can be plundered by them at will. The high emotional intelligence is called expropriation. At that time, what can you do? No, I have to go to Grandpa Six to clarify. Fatty Zhu didn't care about Zuping's yelling behind him, and ran towards Zhu Dongtang's house. At this time, Zhu Dongtang was in full swing. He just called over the chiefs of several other villages in Zujia town today, and announced to them that he had been appointed by the higher level organization to become the mayor of Zujia town. Although it was just a verbal promise from Zihuanhun, Zhu Dongtang took it seriously. The other villagers were afraid of Zhu Dongtang's strength, especially the existence of Fatty Zhu, a stranger, so they didn't dare to raise any opinions. Anyway, Zhu Dongkan is already the leader of Zujia town by virtue of its strength, and everyone agrees that Zhu Dongtang's title as mayor is nothing. So everyone changed their tunes one after another and called Zhu Dongtang the mayor. Zhu Dongtang was extremely happy to be recognized by everyone. I feel that I have honored my ancestors, and I can leave a strong mark on the family tree in the future. At this time, Fatty Zhu hurried over. Grandpa 6, did you meet two people from outside? What did you tell them? Fatty Zhu looked anxious, for fear that Zhu Dongtang said something he shouldn't have said. Zhang Yi said that, if people from Zujia village help outsiders deal with him, he will not show mercy. Not long ago, the more than 100 people who died were an example. Seeing that Fatty Zhu was so ignorant of the rules, Zhu Dongtang's face immediately turned down. Zhu Chunlei, why did you talk to the elders? It's really not big or small. Fatty Zhu was still a little afraid of the elders in the clan, so he could only say, Grandpa 6, I'm too anxious. Just tell me. This matter is really important. Zhu Dongtang gave him a deep look. He has always looked down on this useless grandchild from the bottom of his heart. If it wasn't for Fatty Zhu's ability, he wouldn't bother to answer a word. That's what happened. Two leaders from superiors came to our Zudong village to inspect the work. They expressed full affirmation of our current status. He puffed up his chest and said proudly, and they appointed me as the mayor of Zujia town. Fatty Zhu didn't care about these. He asked, Grandpa 6, have you told them about the grain storage in our village? After being reminded by Zhang Yi, Fatty Zhu realized that food storage is an important secret and cannot be easily revealed. Zhu Dongtang chuckled, those are superior leaders. Our grain reserves are also the achievements of our village. Why should we hide them? Fatty Zhu's heart sank. He didn't expect Zhang Yi to be right. He gritted his teeth and continued to ask, then have you mentioned Zhang Yi's matter to them? As soon as Fatty Zhu mentioned Zhang Yi's name, Zhu Dongtang's face immediately changed. HMPH. The demon killed our Zujia number 120 person. He deserves death. We can't deal with him, but there are people who can deal with him. About his situation, I have already reported to the superior. The leader said that Zhang Yi will be dealt with seriously. Fatty Zhu's legs suddenly went limp, and he sat on the ground paralyzed. It's over. It's over. Fatty Zhu said with a pale face. He understands that Zhang Yi is a person who will take revenge, and it is impossible to tolerate anyone's betrayal of him. Zhu Dongtang's actions will definitely attract Zhang Yi's revenge. Seeing Fatty Zhu's hopeless appearance, Zhu Dongtang snorted coldly, his face full of contempt. What are you afraid of? He's just a mere Zhang Yi. To the regular army in the organization, he is nothing. Just wait and see. As soon as the organizational troops arrive, they will be able to wipe him out in no time. At that time, the lives of my 120 people in Zudong village will be avenged. Fatty Zhu's face was pale. He knew that what he said was meaningless. Zhu Dongtang's arrogance is likely to bring the entire Zudong village into a desperate situation. He didn't understand how powerful Zhang Yi was, let alone what the existence of aliens meant to ordinary people. The reason why Zudong still exists at this time is not because of Zhang Yi's kindness. It's because Fatty Zhu is still useful to Zhang Yi, and these villagers don't pose much threat to Zhang Yi, so they can be wiped out easily. But once Zhang Yi wanted to kill them, they might not be able to survive alone. Stop talking nonsense. Go back and have a good sleep. Forget what you said to me today. Zhu Dongtang stared coldly at Fatty Zhu on the ground. You just need to be Zhu Dongtang's whole card and obey my orders obediently. You don't need to have a mind of your own. Chapter 250 Ability Improvement. After Zhang Yi returned to the shelter, he went directly to Lu Karen's studio. Before, he handed over the armors of Zihuanhuan and Liu Xiang to Lu Karen and asked her to study them to see if they could be imitated. The military style armor is very good, lighter and more defensive than the body armor worn by Zhang Yi himself. Under the full bite of the demon Katuata, she didn't bite Liu Xiang's body in two, which shows that her defensive power is astonishing. It's a pity that Liu Xiang's one has been torn and cannot be worn directly, and Zihuanhuan's one was too small, and Zhang Yi couldn't wear it. Zhang Yi wanted to let Lu Karen try to see if he could imitate it, or help repair Liu Xiang's suit of armor, so that he can keep it for himself. When Zhang Yi came to the studio, Lu Karen was studying the two white armors. Zhang Yi walked into the room and put the chemical materials she found in her studio. He searched too much, and the warehouse of the largest chemical factory in Xianhai City was emptied. So I just took out a part of it at random, and it filled a corner of the studio. Lu Karen stared dumbfounded. Brother, where did you find so many? Zhang Yi just smiled, clapped his hands and said, you don't need to worry about these. As I said, I will solve the material problem. You just need to help me turn them into bombs. Lu Karen glanced at the materials and patted his chest confidently. Don't worry, brother. It may be difficult for you to ask me to make some sophisticated weapons. But if it's just a bomb for blasting, it's too easy to make. In the Ice Age, the enemy could not come with chariots and tanks, but could only attack in the form of infantry. Then, even the most common ground explosives will cause huge damage to them. Zhang Yi's eyes fell on the two sets of armor, and he asked Lu Karen, how about it? Can you forge this level of armor? Lu Karen said with a grin, of course it's no problem. Moreover, the cost of this type of armor needs to be considered, and the performance is not optimal. Brother, you should understand that the cost effectiveness of mass-produced things is considered, not the most cutting-edge performance. If I made it specially for you, big brother, the defense power will definitely be higher than these two. However, in that case, more materials are needed. Zhang Yi's eyes lit up when he heard this. Material. The last thing he lacked was material. Combustible. You just go ahead and do it. You don't need to consider the cost, and you can add all the materials you can use. I don't need cost performance. I just need the most cutting edge performance. Understand? Lu Karen was also very happy. As a genius who loves machinery, what she longs for most is to get the sponsorship of such an atmospheric boss to help her realize all her crazy ideas. Understood. I will definitely build a set of the world's most top armor for you, big brother. Come on. Brother is optimistic about you. Zhang Yi patted her cheek lightly. His eyes were full of encouragement. Sure enough, Lu Karen's face turned red immediately. Zhang Yi left at the right time, not taking up any of her working time. Zhang Yi went to take a shower, then changed into light and suitable clothes for sports, and then came to the stadium on the third basement floor. When they are free on weekdays, people in the shelter will come here to exercise. But when Zhang Yi came here to practice his abilities, no one was allowed to enter. So much so that until now, other people in the sanctuary don't know what Zhang Yi's ability is. Zhang Yi closed the door of the stadium, and then took out a compound bow from a different space. After absorbing Zihuanhuan's power, he can clearly feel that the activity of the cells in his body has become stronger, and there is a kind of vigorous power emerging from his body. He really wanted to see to what extent his current abilities had been improved. Zhang Yi raised his bow and set an arrow. A white light flashed in his right pupil, and an invisible and colorless ability was wrapped in the arrow. But in his eyes, he seemed to be able to see the existence of this invisible and intangible power. Faster, sharper, stronger. Zhang Yi pointed the arrow in his hand at the target 500 meters away, a distance he had never tried before. The compound bow in his hand was drawn like a full moon, and then the arrow shot out with a whoosh. Moments later, as far as the eye could see, the archery target was directly smashed to pieces. It wasn't until the target was shattered that the sound came to Zhang Yi's ears. His arrow speed has exceeded the speed of sound. Zhang Yi was taken aback by his current abilities. He looked at his hands and muttered to himself, I never thought that the strength obtained through plundering is faster than my hard training for more than a month. Now the arrow in his hand is more powerful than ordinary firearms. With a thought, Zhang Yi put away the arrow and then took out the treasured sword looming that he had snatched from Liang Yu. Double speed. As the ability deepened, Zhang Yi's speed was directly doubled. But this time, Zhang Yi felt that this increase in strength was far from reaching the limit. Triple speed. Quadruple speed. The use of the ability continued to exert force, and Zhang Yi finally realized the difficulty when he reached the quadruple speed. He waved the treasured sword in his hand, unexpectedly leaving an afterimage in the air that blurred his vision. Zhang Yi didn't stop. He took out some wooden dummy posts for practicing swordsmanship from the different space. At 4 times the speed, the sharp looming directly cut off the thick and thin wooden dummy piles of the calf, and the incision was as smooth as a mirror. Zhang Yi maintained the rhythm of this battle and continued to activate his abilities. It wasn't until 10 minutes later that he felt his body start to lose strength. Zhang Yi quickly put away the supernatural powers on his body and took out some energy bars to supplement his physical strength. The current me is much more powerful than before. Even if I meet some fighters who are proficient in fighting, I still have the strength to fight. Of course, the biggest use of this ability is running. My long distance sniper ability is so stable, who will play hand to hand combat with them? Zhang Yi quickly clarified his fighting method. Run as long as you can, and never take the initiative to engage in close conflicts. On weekdays, he pretended to be very weak in melee combat. But if you have to, and you really need to fight, then he can definitely give the other party a surprise. It would be even better if I could find a master to learn a few tricks in the future. Zhang Yi sighed so much, he only hated himself for not being perfect enough to be a hexagonal warrior. Because of this, he has always maintained a cautious attitude and will not underestimate any opponent. Even if a lion fights a rabbit, it will use all its strength. He himself didn't know how much panic he had brought to that Zishan base at this time. End of this chapter. Thank you very much for reaching the end. Don't forget to like. Looking for more exclusive content and immediate access? Subscribe to our Patreon. Remember, every like, subscription, or donation encourages us to continue. Thanks to everyone. See you in the next video.